Chapter 3694. Fei Huang nodded. I'm her master. Of course I know her. In this life she's called Xian Yanqing. In her previous life she was called Tang Qing. Yes, I'm her master in her previous life. Little Qing's master? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. No wonder she looked at him like that. So she was Xian Yanqing's master. So it's Little Qing's master, Lu Ming. Greetings, Senior. Lu Ming bowed even more respectfully and then asked, Senior, Xiaoqing left behind a map back then. Her target is the mother planet of the Dragon Clan. I wonder where Xiaoqing is now. Little Qing is not on the dragon race's mother planet. Fei Huang said. No. Lu Ming was disappointed. At the same time he was puzzled. If Xian Yanqing was not on the dragon race's mother planet, why did she leave a map and ask him to come? Could it be that Xian Yanqing had left before he came? Seeming to see Lu Ming's puzzlement, Fei Huang said, Little Qing has never been to the dragon race's mother planet. She's cultivating in another place more suitable for her. It was my idea to ask you to come here. Senior, what do you mean? Lu Ming was even more puzzled. Yes, what I meant was that I had already communicated with Little Qing at that time. I wanted to ask you to come here and try to fuse with the forbidden power. Little Qing also agreed. After all, this is a great opportunity. Moreover, she's very confident in you. Fei Huang said. I see. Lu Ming nodded, suppressing his disappointment. Then how did Senior know in advance that I would succeed? I don't know. Fei Huang shook her head. It's a long story. In fact, when you were with Little Qing in the minor worlds, I already noticed you. At the same time, I calculated your fate. Your fate is different. I can't calculate it at all. Ordinary people can vaguely see the river of fate and the direction of the future. But I can't see it for you. Calculating the fate of others can see their future. Lu Ming's eyes widened. This method was too inconceivable. In the small dimension, the heavenly Tao of the small dimension gave birth to the law of destiny. However, that was only a special method of attack. It was impossible to pry into someone's fate. Lu Ming could not help but be shocked that Fei Huang could do it in the great wide world. I'm just barely peeking at it. Every living being's future is filled with countless changes. Every step they take, every word they say will result in a different fate. But you can't see the future at all. People like you are extremely rare. Many times they can create miracles. That's why I guided you to the mother planet of the dragon race. Fei Huang explained. Lu Ming nodded. He finally understood the doubts in his heart. It turned out that Xian Yanqing was not here. He was cultivating in another place. But she knew that there was a taboo power in the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Fei Huang wanted Lu Ming to give it a try, and Xian Yanqing naturally agreed. That was why he left the map to Lu Ming. The reason why Lu Ming's cultivation had to be above the Divine King realm was that if his cultivation was too low, it would be useless even if he came. He might not even be able to enter the Dragon Clan's mother planet, and it would be very dangerous for him to face the prodigies of the various races. Senior, can you take me to see Xiaoqing? Lu Ming asked. Not for the time being. Fei Huang said, now Xiaoqing is cultivating in an extremely secret place. She's at a critical moment and can't be disturbed. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. What a pity. He originally thought that he would be able to see Xian Yanqing on the Dragon Clan's mother planet, but he didn't expect that he still couldn't see him. After thinking of Xian Yanqing, Lu Ming thought of the mid-autumn moon. The mid-autumn moon might have come to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Previously, he heard that Ao Qian had merged with the will of the Dragon Clan's mother planet. The other party was so powerful, as long as the mid-autumn moon was on the Dragon Clan's mother planet, he should know about it. Thinking of this, Lu Ming immediately cupped his fist to Ao Qian and said, Senior, Lu Ming wants to ask you about a person. Please speak. Ao Qian smiled. Lu Ming had merged with the forbidden power and his talent was unbelievable. He was destined to be extraordinary. If he grew up in the future, it would be normal for him to be on par with him or even surpass him. Therefore he was very polite to Lu Ming. He treated him as someone of the same level. Immediately, Lu Ming took out a jade talisman and injected divine power into it. The portrait of the mid-autumn moon appeared in the air. Ao Qian looked at it and nodded softly as if he was thinking. Lu Ming watched nervously. I've seen this girl before. After a while Ao Qian nodded. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he was overjoyed. Senior, may I know where she is? Lu Ming quickly asked. Not on the dragon race's mother planet. Ao Qian shook his head again. Not on the dragon race's mother planet. Lu Ming was puzzled. If she wasn't on the dragon race's mother planet, how could Ao Qian have seen her? I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for you to see this girl. Then Ao Qian sighed again. Lu Ming's heart tightened. What did he mean by it'll be difficult to see her? Lu Ming became a little anxious and asked, Senior, what do you mean by that? Ao Qian didn't answer Lu Ming's question directly and continued, I'm a remnant soul that has merged with the will of the mother planet. I'm equivalent to the mother planet and I can feel any place on the mother planet. Especially some of the original branches of the dragon race, I can also clearly feel the transmission channels that lead to the mother planet. Some time ago, the girl you mentioned took a transmission array from a branch of the dragon race and was supposed to go straight to the mother planet, but she was intercepted halfway. Ao Qian said. Intercepted. Lu Ming was shocked. What did he mean by intercepted? Moreover, the person who intercepted the girl should be a big shot from the illusory heavenly palace. Ao Qian said. What big shot from the illusory heavenly palace? Why would the illusory heavenly palace intercept the mid-autumn moon? Lu Ming was even more shocked. In the chaotic universe, there was more than one heavenly palace, and the illusory heavenly palace was one of them. But why would the big shot from the illusory heavenly palace intercept the mid-autumn moon? Lu Ming, don't worry, big shots like the heavenly palace usually won't take action against the younger generation. The reason why the other party intercepted the girl is probably because they took a fancy to her talent and wanted to take her into the heavenly palace to train her. The heavenly palace will secretly take in some talented geniuses and train them. This is normal. Ao Qian said. Hearing the other party's words, Lu Ming was slightly relieved, but he was still very nervous. At the same time, Lu Ming was quite depressed. This time he came to the dragon race's mother planet to look for Xian Yanqing and the mid-autumn moon, but in the end he didn't find anyone. Lu Ming took a deep breath and slowly calmed himself down. At least, he knew that Xian Yanqing was very safe and was cultivating in a place. And the mid-autumn moon was very likely to be taken a fancy to by the heavenly palace and secretly trained. Her life was not in danger and that was enough. As long as she was still alive he would see her sooner or later. Chapter 3695. After calming down, Lu Ming thought of the taboo power again. Senior, you said that the taboo power is so powerful, but how do I cultivate it? Now that I've fused with the taboo power, the other divine powers are suppressed. It's hard for them to improve. Lu Ming asked, somewhat depressed. He couldn't improve the other divine powers, and he didn't know how to cultivate the taboo power. Fei Huang and Ao Qian looked at each other and smiled. Since you've fused with the taboo power, it's normal that you can't cultivate the other divine powers. The taboo power is the strongest power derived from the great desolate universe. The other divine powers will definitely be suppressed when fusing with the taboo power. Fei Huang said. Then how should I cultivate in the future? Lu Ming asked speechlessly. Don't worry, I guided you here to fuse with the taboo power, so I naturally have a way for you to cultivate. Fei Huang said. Back then she also fused with the taboo power. Ao Qian smiled, very envious. She also fused with the taboo power. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Fei Huang had also fused with the taboo power, and her cultivation had reached an unfathomable level. Since Fei Huang could definitely cultivate, then he could also cultivate. Lu Ming looked at Fei Huang with shining eyes. Now if you want to cultivate, there are only two ways. Sure enough, Fei Huang began to explain. The first way is to abandon the other divine powers and focus on cultivating the taboo power, crippling the other divine powers. Fei Huang said. Crippling the other divine powers. Lu Ming's mouth was wide open. This wasn't necessarily a bad idea, but he wasn't willing to accept it. He had painstakingly cultivated for thousands of years to reach his current cultivation level. Moreover, he controlled 11 divine powers and 11 origin secret techniques. He had already cultivated them to such a high level. Abandoning them like this was more painful than cutting his own flesh. Senior, what's the second way? Lu Ming asked anxiously. I know that you're unwilling. The second way is that you don't need to abandon the other divine powers. I'll teach you a secret technique that will allow you to separate the taboo power from the other divine powers. This secret technique is called the three corpses technique. It can completely sever the past, present, and future, forming three different bodies. Fei Huang introduced. Then Lu Ming was stunned. He was stunned by this secret technique. Cutting apart the past, present, and future to form a different entity. How mysterious was this? There was actually such a secret technique in the world. You cultivate the three-corpse severing art. You sever the past and form a complete body. Then you leave all kinds of bodies in that body. His current body can focus on cultivating forbidden power. That way you won't lose anything. After Fei Huang finished talking, she took out a jade talisman and handed it to Lu Ming. Study the art of severing 3 corpses first. After you successfully sever it, I will teach you the cultivation method of the taboo power. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. Fei Huang said. Many thanks, Senior. Lu Ming received it and was overjoyed. He bid farewell to Flying Phoenix Ao Qian and found a place to cultivate. This place seemed to be a huge underground space. The area was very large. Lu Ming found a cave by the side and walked in. Then he sat down cross-legged and took out the art of severing 3 corpses. The more he looked, the more shocked Lu Ming was. It was too mysterious. The art of severing 3 corpses could sever the past, present, and future, forming 3 different entities. Furthermore, these 3 entities were all independent, complete, and had their own thoughts. It was as if one Lu Ming had suddenly become 3. There was no difference between the real and the fake. They were all the real Lu Ming. It was just that one was the past, one was the present, and one was the future. As the future developed and experienced different things, they would slowly become different. Each of them cultivated independently and thought independently. Their future potential was limitless. This was simply heaven-defying. There was a huge difference between this and the cloning technique and the incarnation technique. When Lu Ming was in the small Kiliacosm, the primordial realm, he had once cultivated the twin forbidden art and cultivated 2 bodies. However, although the main body and the second body could cultivate independently, their potential was very limited. When Lu Ming wanted to break through to martial sage, he would have to fuse with his main body and second body to break through. If he didn't fuse with them, it would be hard for him to break through. That meant the potential of that method had already been exhausted. However, the art of severing 3 corpses was completely different. After cultivating it, each of them would be Lu Ming himself. Their potential wouldn't change at all. They would be the same as Lu Ming's previous self. They would all have limitless potential and would be able to reach extremely high realms in the future. Wonderful, truly wonderful. Once I succeed in cultivating it, the past body I sever will focus on cultivating various kinds of divine energy. As for my current body, it will focus on cultivating forbidden energy. This way there won't be any conflict between the 2. Wonderful. Lu Ming was very excited. He then began to seriously comprehend it. However, the difficulty of comprehending the art of severing 3 corpses surpassed Lu Ming's expectations. Even after 2 months, Lu Ming still hadn't grasped the slightest clue. Lu Ming could only go ask Fei Huang for guidance. With Fei Huang's guidance, he was barely able to grasp the slightest clue. However, if he wanted to succeed, there was still a huge gap. During this time, the dragon race's home planet finally entered a period of peace. The various races' heavenly geniuses no longer dared to enter the dragon race's home planet. The dragon men on the dragon race's home planet no longer had to worry about anything. They could cultivate as much as they wanted. Some of the dragon race's heavenly geniuses who had been sealed for dozens of stellar years could also cultivate in peace. The dragon race's home planet had entered a period of great development. Lu Ming continued to comprehend the art of severing 3 corpses. Time passed day by day. Half a year. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had spent 6 years comprehending the art of severing 3 corpses. Along the way, with Fei Huang's guidance, he finally succeeded in comprehending the art of severing 3 corpses. On this day, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and began to use the art of severing 3 corpses. He was about to sever his past body. Fei Huang and Ao Qian were guarding Lu Ming by the side. It was very dangerous to use the art of severing 3 corpses. Once there was a problem, not only would he fail to cultivate it, but he would also sever himself and die on the spot. Lu Ming carefully responded to the content, and then began to use the art of severing 3 corpses. 9 days later. Open! Lu Ming shouted. Endless divine light appeared on his body. These divine lights were like sharp blades, constantly slashing his body. These divine lights slashed his body, but there was not the slightest wound on his body. However, slowly his body glowed as if a figure was about to split from his body. This method was not to split his body and soul into 2 halves. That was not the case. In fact, his body and soul were still complete and had not been separated. What was severed was his past body. What was already in the past was called the past body. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. The figure on Lu Ming's body became clearer and clearer. Chapter 3696. Another figure appeared on Lu Ming's body. This figure looked exactly the same as Lu Ming. It was as if there were 2 Lu Ming overlapping each other. At first, the 2 Lu Mings overlapped very closely. But slowly the 2 Lu Mings separated. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. Finally, the 2 Lu Mings were completely separated. The two identical Lu Mings suddenly opened their eyes and looked at each other. I succeeded. The two Lu Mings had the same thought. Then they smiled at the same time. The two Lu Mings didn't have a hierarchy. They were both Lu Ming. It was just that one was the past and the other was the present. But now that they had just split, they had experienced the same things. Therefore, their thoughts, way of thinking, and subjective consciousness were all the same. Of course, as the two of them experienced different things in the future, some of their thoughts would also change. The two Lu Mings looked at their other selves in amazement. Then the two of them cupped their fists at each other. Not bad, Lu Ming, you succeeded. Fei Huang said with a look of joy on her face. Lu Ming was able to successfully sever his past body in 10 years. This kind of talent was already very good. At the very least, he wasn't any weaker than her. Lu Ming, you've just succeeded. Your present body can now change its appearance and aura so that others won't be able to recognize you. Fei Huang said. You can do that? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Of course you can. Your present body has been fused with the taboo power. It has just been severed so it can be shaped at will. If too much time passes, once it's shaped, it will be very difficult to change. Now that you've changed your aura, even your life essence has changed. Even if the people closest to you stand in front of you, they won't be able to recognize you. Even experts on the level of the Lord of Heaven won't be able to recognize you. Moreover, your fate will be fixed on your past body. Even experts skilled in divination won't be able to divine your fate. Your present body will become a completely different person. Fei Huang explained. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. It was simply miraculous that he could do this. Even the origin of life could be changed. Even the birth horoscopes could be changed. Even the almighty experts couldn't divine them. This was equivalent to becoming a completely different person. In that case, wouldn't Lu Ming's current body be able to leave the mother planet of the dragons and travel the vast universe? He could even enter the heavenly palace and search for the mid-autumn moon? Originally, Lu Ming was still worried that he might not be able to leave the dragon race's mother planet. This was because the heavenly palace wouldn't let him go. The angels, spiritlings, and bloodlings wouldn't let him go either. The moment he left the dragon race's mother planet, he would be captured. But if I change to a new identity, how will others find out? Moreover, as long as he left his past self on the dragon clan's mother planet, others would only think that he had been cultivating there. After all, his past self controlled all kinds of divine powers. It was most suitable for him to cultivate on the dragon clan's mother planet. Then Lu Ming followed Fei Huang's method. With a thought, his body began to change. His appearance, skin, and height all underwent major changes. He became a tall and handsome young man. Compared to before, he was much fairer. He looked like a handsome young master. Moreover, his life origin aura also changed. It became a new and completely unfamiliar life origin aura. Now, even if he was placed in front of the Yale Lord of Heaven, the other party wouldn't be able to recognize him as Lu Ming. Well, not bad. Fei Huang nodded, very satisfied. Then a jade talisman appeared in her hand. Lu Ming, this is my experience in cultivating the taboo power. Study it well. Only by cultivating the taboo power can you reach the end, break through the shackles, achieve true transcendence, and reach an incredible realm. Fei Huang said. Only by cultivating the taboo power can one truly transcend. Can't I achieve it by cultivating other divine powers? Lu Ming's present self took the jade talisman and asked curiously. Lu Ming's past self also pricked up his ears to listen. After all, he mainly cultivated divine powers and mastered the universe's myriad Tao art. Now, he controlled 11 types of divine powers. Not necessarily. This time, Fei Huang's gaze was on Lu Ming's past self. Senior, please enlighten me. His past self cupped his fists. Although Lu Ming's present self had fused with the taboo power and his talent had increased greatly, he didn't want to give up on his past self. After all, he had spent a lot of effort to cultivate the 11 types of divine powers. The essence of cultivating divine power is to constantly comprehend a certain divine power and awaken the origin divine power. The more origin divine power you awaken, the closer your divine power will be to the corresponding power of the original divine spirit. In the end, you will truly reach the power of the original divine spirit. It's the same for origin secret techniques. Even if you severed the 9th shackle, you will only be about the same as the original divine spirit. So, even if you cultivate one type of divine power to the extreme, you will at most be as strong as the original divine spirit. However, there are differences in strength between the original divine spirits. Moreover, the original divine spirit hasn't transcended and hasn't reached the true peak. Fei Huang explained. Lu Ming understood that even if he cultivated one type of divine power to the extreme, he would at most reach the level of the original divine spirit. After that, there was no way to go further. His potential had reached the limit. Of course, for most people, reaching the level of the original divine spirit was like a fantasy story. It was too difficult. Not many people could cultivate one type of divine power to the peak. Most people couldn't reach it even if they spent their entire lives. So, they naturally wouldn't consider the problem of potential. However, some peerless talents were different. These people naturally wouldn't be satisfied. One had to know that the original divine spirit wasn't invincible. Even if it was killed by the heavenly palace, how strong could it be? Lu Ming's past body also wasn't satisfied. If one couldn't reach the true peak by cultivating divine power, they wouldn't even be able to resist the heavenly palace. Senior, if I cultivate divine power, there should be a way to transcend, right? Fei Huang asked. There is indeed a way, and that is to control more divine power. If you cultivate multiple types of divine power to the peak, then you might be able to take the final step. So, in ancient times, many outstanding geniuses created many cultivation methods that could cultivate multiple types of divine power. That's how the current ancient cultivation methods came about. However, cultivating multiple types of divine power is too difficult. Most people can't do it, so it gradually disappeared. Only the most outstanding geniuses would touch it. As for the Cosmos Myriad Dao art, it's a very famous cultivation technique in history. If you can cultivate it to the level of major mastery, you might be able to successfully transcend and take the final step. Of course, 11 kinds of divine energy isn't enough. Fei Huang explained. Chapter 3697. Through Fei Huang's explanation, Lu Ming understood many things. He also understood the origin of ancient cultivation methods. Ancient cultivation methods were originally created by the ancient people who wanted to achieve transcendence. However, the requirements for cultivation were too high, and it gradually declined. Today, only a few people cultivated them. According to Fei Huang, the universe myriad Dao art was also a kind of ancient cultivation method. Moreover, it was a top ancient cultivation method. When cultivated to the peak, one could also transcend. Now, your current body is cultivating the taboo energy, while your past body can cultivate the universe myriad Dao art. It's best that you don't interfere with each other. Alright, you can comprehend the taboo energy now. If you have any questions, you can come and ask me. Fei Huang said. Lu Ming, if you have any questions about your cultivation, you can also come and ask me. Ao Qian said to Lu Ming's past body. After saying that, Ao Qian and Fei Huang left. The two Lu Ming glanced at each other. Now, Lu Ming's 11 types of divine power were in his past body. The primordial god blood was also in his past body. Now he only had the taboo energy. Old John, go over. The past body transmitted a message to the battle art. Then the past body's forehead lit up. The measure art appeared and flew to the present body. It rushed into the forehead of Lu Ming's present body and disappeared. Two origin ancient characters, the battle character formula, followed the present body. After all, if the present body planned to go out in the future, it would be best to have the battle art by his side. As for the measure art, it would temporarily follow the past body. After all, the past body needed the measure art to cultivate various types of divine power. After the distribution was done, the past body flashed and left to find a place to comprehend various types of divine power. Lu Ming's present body sat cross-legged. He took out the jade talisman Fei Huang gave him and began to read it. 1 month later. Wonderful, truly wonderful. Lu Ming sighed. Cultivating the taboo energy was completely different from cultivating divine power. There was no need to condense a star core in the dantian, and the taboo energy was not scattered in the meridians. There was no need to absorb divine power or energy to transform it. The cultivation of taboo energy was mainly to develop one's own potential. The taboo energy dispersed into countless strands and dispersed into every cell in Lu Ming's body. How many cells are there in the human body? 40 to 60 trillion. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had a maximum of 60 trillion cells. 60 trillion. What kind of number was this? It was simply an astronomical number, like the sand of the Ganges. Each of his cells contained traces of taboo power. When cultivating the taboo power, one also needed to absorb energy. It was different from the cultivation of divine power. The energy would be absorbed by every cell. Just like before, when Lu Ming absorbed the divine medicine, the energy of the divine medicine was absorbed by his cells. However, absorbing this energy could not directly increase Lu Ming's cultivation. It could only increase his potential. The more energy it absorbed, the greater its potential would be. If he wanted to improve his cultivation, he had to constantly develop his own potential. Only in the process of developing his potential could he improve his cultivation. In addition, Lu Ming found that his current body did not have a soul. This was because his soul, like the taboo energy, had been dispersed into countless strands, fused with the taboo energy and dispersed into every cell. According to the records on the Jade Talisman, because every cell contained a soul, even if Lu Ming's body was smashed to pieces, as long as one of his cells was still alive, he would not die and could come back to life. Heaven-defying, truly heaven-defying. This was simply equivalent to an immortal body. After cultivating to the divine realm, the recovery ability of the physical body was already very amazing. Even if it was smashed to pieces, it could still recover as long as the soul was not destroyed. However, as long as the soul was destroyed, it would be dead. But now, Lu Ming's soul was distributed in every cell. Without the weakness of the soul, as long as one of his cells was still alive, he could come back to life. It was too heaven-defying. However, there was something even more heaven-defying. The taboo energy did not have the so-called secret arts of the origin. However, the Jade Talisman given by Fei Huang recorded a heaven-defying method. That was to cultivate ordinary secret arts. Every secret art, as long as one cultivated it, would be able to form a secret art rune that would fly into a cell. The soul in that cell would be able to comprehend it on its own. As time passed, that secret art's comprehension would become deeper and deeper. Every cell could fuse with a different secret art. In other words, he could fuse with 60 trillion secret arts. 60 trillion secret arts. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Even if he collected all the secret arts in the entire primitive universe, there wouldn't be so many of them. If his body had fused with thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of secret arts, once they erupted, how terrifying would that be? No secret arts of the origin could compare to it. No wonder it was called taboo energy. This was truly a taboo, a heaven-defying existence. Once Lu Ming had some accomplishments, his combat strength would far surpass his previous strength. This was the true terror of taboo energy. Start cultivating. Lu Ming took a deep breath and began cultivating according to a technique recorded on the Jade Talisman. Hu, Lu Ming waved his fists, and the sky rumbled as they danced in a strange trajectory. Crack, rustle, rustle. Lu Ming felt that the bones, muscles, blood, and even every cell in his body were vibrating in a strange way. Then a strange power seeped out from every cell. This power spread throughout his body, filling Lu Ming with strength. Lu Ming entered a state of selflessness and constantly cultivated. In the process of cultivating, the potential in his body was slowly being developed. This cultivation lasted for 7 days. 7 days later, Lu Ming stopped cultivating. Lu Ming let out a long breath and carefully sensed his body. He felt that the power in his body seemed to have strengthened a little compared to before. As long as I keep cultivating according to this method, I can continuously develop my potential and increase my cultivation. My current cultivation is equivalent to 3rd level Divine Lord. Lu Ming judged. The cultivation of taboo energy did not have a specific division of realms. Lu Ming only judged based on experience. Of course, the strength of his combat strength was far beyond 3rd level Divine Lord. But how do I cultivate a secret art? How do I turn it into a secret art rune? Lu Ming frowned, completely unable to make sense of it. In the end, Lu Ming could only go find Fei Huang and ask her for guidance. Taboo energy is very necessary to cultivate a secret art at the beginning. This is a kind of accumulation that should be able to increase one's combat strength. But in the later stages, one must carve out one's own path. Fei Huang said. Carve out one's own path. Lu Ming was puzzled and continued to ask. That's right. For every taboo to reach an extremely high realm, in the later stages, one needs to carve out one's own path. Just like me, the path I'm walking now is a devil. Fei Huang said. Chapter 3698. Lu Ming recalled how Fei Huang's body was covered in demonic light during the previous battle. Logically speaking, Fei Huang was also a taboo. There were countless secret techniques in her body, and she should be able to use many secret techniques. However, what she used was the demonic path. In other words, Fei Huang had already walked her own path. In the beginning, I fused different secret techniques in my cells. These secret techniques can serve as a reference for you in the future, allowing you to better walk your own path. In the beginning, I also fused countless secret techniques in my cells. However, after successfully walking my own path, I forgot all those secret techniques. Fei Huang said. Forgot? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Originally, he had a little bit of thought. He wanted Fei Huang to teach him the ordinary secret techniques she had mastered. That way he would have countless secret techniques and could cultivate them to his heart's content. He didn't expect Fei Huang to actually forget all the secret techniques from the past. Yes, if you want to walk your own path, you have to forget all the secret techniques you cultivated in the past. However, your own path is the true strongest path. No matter how many secret techniques there are, they can't compare to it. Just like that father-in-law of yours. He also walked his own path. He walked the path of the sword. Fei Huang said. Father-in-law. Lu Ming rubbed his nose. He knew that Fei Huang was talking about Xian Yinqing's father in his previous life. Alright, let's not talk too much. I'll teach you the cultivation method of secret technique runes. Fei Huang said. Then she passed the cultivation method of secret technique runes to Lu Ming. After Lu Ming received it, he immediately rushed back to study it. According to Fei Huang, every secret technique only needed to be cultivated to the beginner level. There was no need to cultivate it to a very profound level. The first technique that Lu Ming cultivated was the Divine Dragon Aspect Art. Lu Ming had already cultivated the Divine Dragon Aspect Art to the point of perfection. Therefore, Lu Ming didn't spend much effort to condense a rune for the Divine Dragon Aspect Art. With a thought, this rune flew into a cell in Lu Ming's right hand. In the future, the soul in that cell would naturally constantly study it. Heaven-defying, truly heaven-defying. This kind of method had already exceeded Lu Ming's imagination. In the past, he also couldn't imagine that there was such a method. It was simply mysterious and unfathomable, inexplicable. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch. A cell in his palm glowed, and a 9-clawed dragon rushed out of his fist. Marvelous. If I were to fuse several hundred secret techniques into my palm, wouldn't that mean several hundred secret techniques would be unleashed with a single punch? Although they would all be ordinary secret techniques, their power would still be extremely shocking. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then he continued to experiment. After a few moves, Lu Ming's control became even better. When he threw a punch, the 9-clawed dragon didn't fly out. However, this punch also contained the power of the mystical dragon aspect art. Secret technique. Concealment. Miao. Lu Ming is even happier. This way he can keep a low profile. After all, if he were to use several hundred or even thousands of secret techniques in one move, it would be too ostentatious. It wouldn't be difficult for insightful people to guess that he has a taboo physique. However, although the secret technique was concealed, its power was equally powerful. This way it would be more convenient to use it and others wouldn't be able to see it. Let's try something else. Then Lu Ming began to practice other secret techniques. Ice shackles. Lu Ming has been neglected for a long time. With Lu Ming's current strength, the ice shackles are no longer useful. However, Lu Ming can practice 60 trillion secret techniques. Who cares what kind of secret technique it is? I'll practice it first. Soon the ice shackles also turned into a rune and flew into a cell in his left hand. In a while, Lu Ming cultivated several secret techniques that he used to practice, such as the Heavenly Demon Golden Body and the Yin Yang God Eye, into secret technique runes. The rune secret technique of the Heavenly Demon Golden Body was integrated into a cell in Lu Ming's spine. And the rune secret technique of the Yin Yang God Eye was integrated into a cell in Lu Ming's eye. These secret techniques were mastered by Lu Ming in the past, so his cultivation speed was the fastest. After practicing these, Lu Ming began to practice other ordinary secret techniques. Over the years, Lu Ming had killed countless opponents and collected a total of 103 types of ordinary secret skills. However, in the past he put all his thoughts on the secret techniques of origin. He didn't practice these secret techniques at all. After all, the secret techniques of origin had great potential and were much more powerful than these ordinary secret techniques. They had been collected in a storage ring and were not touched. Now he could take them out to practice. Lu Ming took out a secret technique called the Starquake Fist and began to comprehend it. Practicing a secret technique was naturally not that easy, but as long as one was at the entry level it was not difficult. Moreover, when one's cultivation was high, one's horizons were high, and it was relatively easier to practice. 3 days later, Lu Ming cultivated this secret technique to the entry level. It turned into a secret technique rune and integrated into a cell in Lu Ming's palm. Then he took out a finger technique secret technique, cultivated it into a secret technique rune, and integrated it into the cell in his finger. Just like this, Lu Ming used more than a year's time to cultivate all 103 secret techniques into secret technique runes and integrated them into his cell. Let's go and test the power. Lu Ming revealed a look of anticipation. Boom, boom, boom. Two figures were in an intense confrontation. Their figures flashed and energy filled the sky. These two figures were Lu Ming's past body and present body. The past body stimulated the power of the primordial divine blood and held the Tyrant god spear in his hand. The other 10 secret techniques of origin also appeared. Without the restriction of the taboo power, the cultivation of the past body finally skyrocketed. It had already reached the peak of the 4th level Divine Lord realm and was not far from the 5th level Divine Lord realm. Ding ling ling, the heavenly evil bell vibrated and the soul attack technique surged toward the present body. However, it was ineffective against the present body. After all, the cells in his body were all souls. The soul attack could only attack a part of it. Boom. Now all the cells in his body were vibrating and a powerful force burst out. With a punch, he broke through the attack of the heavenly evil bell, as well as the light of the sun and moon of the moon, and collided with the Tyrant god's spear. With a violent explosion, the Tyrant god's spear shook violently. The past body also shook violently and was forced to retreat. Amazing. The power of the taboo power is really amazing. The past body revealed a look of shock and then ecstasy. After all, both the present body and the past body were Lu Ming. Lu Ming would be happy no matter which one was stronger. It's my turn. The present body shouted and his body glowed. Then, hundreds of secret techniques rushed out and rushed toward the past body. Mysterious sky shield, sky-piercing sword. The past body shouted and the 11 secret techniques erupted with amazing power. The power after cutting off the lock was completely stimulated. The 2 Lu Mings were engaged in an intense battle. However, the taboo power was really amazing. Although the present body's cultivation was only at the 3rd level Divine Lord realm, the past body was at a disadvantage. Chapter 3699. The 2 Lu Ming exchanged more than 100 moves and in the end the past body was defeated. After all, the past body had lost the battle formula, and its combat strength had weakened. After the battle ended, the 2 Lu Ming left respectively, carefully comprehending the gains from the battle. 1 year later. How should I leave? Lu Ming whispered. He planned to leave the Dragon Clan's mother planet and see if he could find the autumn moon. After all, the effect of cultivating the forbidden power on the Dragon Clan's mother planet was not as great as cultivating divine power. Although the cultivation of the forbidden power also required various kinds of energy, it only stored the energy in each cell to enhance one's potential. If one wanted to improve their cultivation, they still needed to constantly cultivate and develop their potential. Therefore, whether or not he was on the Dragon Clan's mother planet did not make much of a difference to his current body. There was also one more thing: developing one's potential required pressure and a big battle. Only under pressure, in a big battle, in a life and death situation could his potential be quickly developed. On the Dragon Clan's mother planet, he lacked such conditions, so his progress was very slow. Now, his cultivation was still equivalent to the 3rd level Divine Lord realm, and his past body was about to break through to the 5th level Divine Lord realm. Moreover, his past body had cultivated several other types of divine power. Only by controlling more divine power could he go further on this path in the future, and it was possible for him to transcend. But Lu Ming was a little worried. How should he get out? Of course he could fly out directly, but outside the Dragon Clan's mother planet, there were definitely powerhouses from the various races of the primitive universe guarding it. If he flew out rashly, he would probably be suspected. You are worried about getting out. Fei Huang walked over and heard Lu Ming's muttering. Senior, do you have a good plan? Lu Ming asked. Of course. The one who answered Lu Ming's question was not Fei Huang but Ao Qian. Ao Qian quietly appeared beside Lu Ming. There are secret passages on the mother planet. Even the heavenly palace doesn't know about it. You can leave quietly through that secret passage, no one will find out. Ao Qian said. That's great. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Then he asked, Senior, this junior would like to ask, how can I approach the heavenly palace now? Are you going to find your little lover? Ao Qian smiled. At the side, the corners of Fei Huang's mouth curled up slightly as she said in her heart, this fellow is the same as his father-in-law, he's also a sentimental person. Cough cough. Lu Ming coughed awkwardly. Even with his old face, he couldn't help but blush slightly when he mentioned this in front of Xian Yanqing's master. There is only one way to approach the heavenly palace, and that is to become a heavenly soldier of the heavenly palace. Ao Qian said. Heavenly soldiers. Lu Ming was puzzled. He knew too little about the heavenly palace. He only knew that there were many heavenly palaces, but he didn't know exactly how many there were. He also didn't know what it was called. He only knew that it was a dreamy heavenly palace. There are a total of 5 heavenly palaces in the world. They are the Dreamy Heavenly Palace, Ziwei Heavenly Palace, Shinji Heavenly Palace and Hongmeng Heavenly Palace. These 4 heavenly palaces guard the 4 directions of the primitive universe. Ao Qian said. Isn't there the last heavenly palace? Lu Ming asked curiously. Weren't there 5 heavenly palaces? Ao Qian only said 4. The 5th heavenly palace is very mysterious. Ao Qian shook his head as if he didn't want to say more. Fei Huang didn't say anything either. The ruler of the heavenly palace is the heavenly human race. This race is also very mysterious. They aren't listed on the primitive universe's 10,000 races list, but they are extremely powerful. However, the heavenly human race doesn't have many people, so they can't control the entire primitive universe. Sometimes they will recruit some people, such as the top geniuses of various races, to become heavenly soldiers. Only by becoming a heavenly soldier can they get close to the heavenly palace. You have a forbidden body now. Even if you enter the heavenly palace, the people in the heavenly palace won't recognize you, unless you meet an unimaginable existence. However, the chances of that happening aren't high, so there's no need to worry. Ao Qian said. How can I become a heavenly soldier? Lu Ming asked again. The heavenly palace will recruit a group of people from the primitive universe every once in a while. The time and number are not fixed. You can only wait. Ao Qian said. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming thanked Ao Qian. Since that was the case, he could only leave the dragon race's mother planet and travel in the primitive universe. At the same time, he could ask around for information. If the heavenly palace recruited people, he would pretend to be a heavenly soldier and ask around about the mid-autumn moon. Senior, where is that passage? Can you send me out? Lu Ming asked. No hurry. Let me give you something first. Ao Qian smiled and then waved his hand. A set of array plates flew out. It was a set of 36 array plates. Many years ago, I asked a spacetime spirit mouse to secretly refine this set of array disks. Once activated, it can directly open a wormhole that leads directly to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Take it with you. Ao Qian said. This, Lu Ming was shocked. He didn't expect such a treasure to exist. Once activated, it could open a wormhole to return to the dragon race's mother planet. Such a function was really amazing. Senior, this treasure is too precious. Lu Ming said. He was a little embarrassed to accept it. Don't be embarrassed. I have a request for giving you this set of array plates. The divine dragon race was at its peak, and there were divine dragons all over the universe. But now these scattered divine dragons are miserable. They have become mounts or battle beasts, and even worse, they have become food for other races. So I want to ask for your help. Once you find a divine dragon, you can send them back to the dragon race's mother planet. This way, the divine dragon race's power will be more concentrated, and they will have more power in the future. Ao Qian sighed. Senior, don't worry. As long as I meet the divine dragon race, I will do my best to send them back to the dragon race's mother planet. Lu Ming said with a firm gaze. Okay, I believe you. Ao Qian nodded in satisfaction and said, but this set of array plates will take some time to activate. If you encounter danger or are in a battle, remember not to activate it. You can only rely on it to escape if you have enough time. Junior understands. Lu Ming nodded and kept the array plates. Let's go. Then Ao Qian waved his hand and a force enveloped Lu Ming. The next moment, they arrived at another place on the dragon race's mother planet. Ao Qian stretched out his hand and pressed in the air. The void immediately fluctuated and a passage appeared. Let's go. Ao Qian said. Senior, goodbye. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Cultivate well. I look forward to the day when you grow up and suppress the universe. Ao Qian smiled, full of anticipation. Lu Ming nodded solemnly, then took a step forward and rushed into the passage, disappearing. I hope you can grow up. In the long river of time, the path of the forbidden physique has been fraught with disasters. Many have fallen. Ao Qian said softly. Chapter 3700. Lu Ming seemed to have shuttled through the endless void. Not long after, he appeared in a starry sky. I'm out. Lu Ming looked around. What entered his eyes was a vast and boundless starry sky. Stars dotted the dark starry sky. Where am I? Lu Ming pondered for a while and then took out a star map. This kind of star map was obtained from Lu Ming after he killed the geniuses of various clans. It was very convenient to use. He injected his divine power into the star map. Suddenly, a vast star map appeared. There were pieces of bright starlight on it. Each starlight represented a starfield. Endless starfields dotted it. This star map was quite vast. It included an unknown number of starfields. On it there was a red dot. This red dot represented the area where Lu Ming was. Expand. Lu Ming stared at the red dot. Immediately the area around the red dot expanded rapidly. The starfields also became clear. The surrounding starfields also became blurry. Soon Lu Ming figured out the area he was in. The Dragon Clan's mother planet is over there. It's only one starfield away from where I am now. It's not too far away. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He wanted to return to the periphery of the Dragon Clan's mother planet and see what the situation was like. Moreover, he also wanted to test if others could recognize him. Although Ao Qian and Fei Huang said that even the Lord of Heaven could not recognize him, he was still a little uncertain without trying it himself. Swoosh. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Every cell in his body trembled slightly. A surge of energy burst out from every cell. Swoosh. Lu Ming broke through the void and flew toward the Dragon Clan's mother planet at an astonishing speed. This speed was far above the speed of light. It even surpassed the speed of a divine lord using a teleportation array. Lu Ming broke through the void and moved forward quickly. Not long after, he crossed the starfield and arrived near the Dragon Clan's mother planet. There are still many experts. As soon as Lu Ming arrived near the Dragon Clan's mother planet, he felt many powerful auras in the surrounding starry sky. These auras were very restrained and hidden. However, Lu Ming still caught them. At the same time, several powerful auras swept toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming maintained his composure and did not say anything. Those auras swept past Lu Ming. They did not find anything strange and then disappeared. They did not find anything. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Compared to before, Yang Qi was like a completely different person. His life force essence had changed, so naturally his enemies wouldn't be able to detect it. Lu Ming approached the Dragon Clan's mother planet. In the distance, a huge planet was floating in the air. The entire planet was shrouded in a layer of fog, making it impossible to see what was happening inside. There were still quite a few figures lingering on the meteorites in the surrounding area. They were all geniuses from different clans. Suddenly Lu Ming's eyes moved. He found that some young winged men had gathered on a nearby meteorite. These young winged men seemed to be discussing something. Heavenly Hearing. Lu Ming's heart stirred and he activated a secret skill. Heavenly Hearing was one of the more than 100 secret techniques that Lu Ming had cultivated. After successfully cultivating it, his hearing would be greatly improved. Lu Ming cultivated it into a secret technique rune and integrated it into his ears. His ears trembled slightly and then he heard voices. That Lu Ming is too hateful. He deserves to die. That's right. It's the same for the remaining members of the Dragon Clan. Lu Ming is colluding with the Dragon Clan. It's really hateful. So many of our winged men's prodigies died there. Are we not going to take revenge? But Lu Ming and the remaining members of the Dragon Clan are hiding in the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Not only is there a terrifying array like the 10,000 dragon seals on the Dragon Clan's mother planet, but there are also terrifying experts left behind. We can't enter at all, let alone take revenge. The winged men gritted their teeth as they discussed. They couldn't wait to tear Lu Ming into pieces. Hee, if you want revenge, you don't have to enter the Dragon Clan's mother planet. At this time, a winged men youth sneered. You have a way. The other winged men looked at him. There are many other divine dragons in the universe. We just have to find them, kill them, and send them to the illusory heavenly jade. When Lu Ming and the remaining members of the Dragon Clan see it, won't they vomit blood? The winged men youth said. The other winged men youth's eyes lit up. Their winged men's almighty had done this before. By doing this, not only would they be able to anger Lu Ming and the remaining members of the Dragon Clan, but they would also be able to please the winged men's almighty. It was killing two birds with one stone. It's a pity that the old ancestor has already killed a batch of them. It will be difficult to find more divine dragons now. A winged men youth sighed. Don't worry. I happen to have clues about divine dragons and there are many of them. The young man from the winged men clan laughed arrogantly. What clues? The others quickly asked. I know of a medium-sized world where many divine dragons live. However, that medium-sized world is too weak. It can only accommodate quasi-emperors at most. If a divine emperor enters, that world will be destroyed. That medium-sized world is like a miniature divine dragon world. If we go in and capture a large number of divine dragons, won't Lu Ming and the remaining members of the Dragon Clan rush out and fight us to the death? Ah. The youth laughed loudly. There's actually such a world? Good. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go now. The other winged men all said. There's no rush. That medium-sized world might have quasi-emperor divine dragons. With our strength, I'm afraid we won't be able to go in. We have to report this matter and ask the clan to send more experts. The youth from before said. That's the only way. What a pity. Some of the youths sighed. If they could succeed, the merit would be great. If they reported it, the merit would be much less. What they didn't know was that their conversation had been heard by Lu Ming. They're really courting death. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly. There's actually a medium-sized world with a large number of divine dragons living there. If these divine dragons are sent back to the Dragon Clan's mother planet, the number of divine dragons will skyrocket. With Senior Ao Chen's nurturing, there might even be a batch of experts. Lu Ming pondered and decided that he had to make this trip. Lu Ming had an idea. He then flew toward the meteorite where the young man from the Wing Clan was. Seeing Lu Ming fly over, the winged men youth immediately stopped talking. Brothers of the winged men, you're right. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Who are you? The winged men youth looked coldly at Lu Ming. Chapter 3701. The winged man race youth coldly looked at Lu Ming. I am Mu Yun. Lu Ming cupped his fists and continued. Many of my clansmen were killed by Lu Ming and the remnants of the dragon race when they entered the dragon race's mother planet. I've been thinking about taking revenge for them all this time. I can't wait to turn that bastard Lu Ming into ashes. At this point, Lu Ming's face was filled with murderous intent and he gritted his teeth. Hearing Lu Ming's words, the winged man race youth's expression became much better. This was what it meant to have a common enemy. Then why did you come looking for us? Asked one of the winged man race youth. Because I know that many of your winged man race people have also died at the hands of Lu Ming and the remnants of the dragon race. You all want to take revenge on them, right? I have an idea. We can find a lot of dragon race people from the outside world and use the illusory divine jade to record it and send it to the illusory space. Do you think that Lu Ming and the remnants of the dragon race will be angered to death when they see it? Although we can't personally kill Lu Ming and the remnants of the dragon race, we can still vent the hatred in our hearts, right? Said Lu Ming. The winged man race's geniuses exchanged glances. Lu Ming's idea happened to coincide with theirs. If we want to kill the dragon race, we can do it ourselves. Why should we cooperate with you? You're just a third-level divine lord. What qualifications do you have to cooperate with us? Said a winged man race youth with a pair of black wings. His face was filled with disdain. The aura Lu Ming revealed was that of a third-level divine lord. Although my cultivation base is only at the third-level divine lord realm, my battle strength is far above that. To put it bluntly, I'm afraid that no one here is my match. Lu Ming said indifferently. Sometimes, when it was time to be strong, one needed to be strong and let the other party know how powerful he was. None of us here are a match for you. The winged man race youth present looked at each other and then laughed. Their laughter was filled with ridicule. Lu Ming actually said that no one here was his match? What a joke. What a joke. The Sky Prides of the Winged Men clan present were all top-notch Sky Prides of the clan. A few of them were 7th-level Divine Lords already. There was even an 8th-level Divine Lord. The rest were all 4th level, 5th level and 6th level Divine Lords. They did not snatch the opportunity to enter the Dragon Clan's mother planet previously, but it did not mean that they were weak. A 3rd-level Divine Lord actually said that no one present was his match. He could battle an 8th-level Divine Lord as a 3rd-level Divine Lord. Moreover, he was a proud son of heaven. Idiot, this was the evaluation of Lu Ming by many winged men. A frog at the bottom of a well, truly laughable. The black-winged youth directly sneered, Brat Scram. We don't have time for you. If you're scared, then just say it. Lu Ming said indifferently, looking extremely arrogant. What did you say? I'm scared. Ah. The black-winged youth laughed maniacally. He laughed so hard that tears almost came out of his eyes. Brat, I want to see just how strong you are. The eyes of the black-winged youth turned cold and murderous. Since Lu Ming wanted to provoke him, he would give Lu Ming an unforgettable lesson. Swoosh. The black-winged youth directly attacked. His palm was like an eagle's claw, grabbing toward Lu Ming. Force howled, the power astonishing. In an instant he closed in on Lu Ming. Only at this time did Lu Ming make his move. His move was very simple, pointing a finger out, pointing toward the other party's palm. Courting death. Seeing that a 3rd-level Divine Lord trash like Lu Ming actually dared to clash head-on with him, he simply had no idea of life or death. He had a 7th-level Divine Lord cultivation. He was seriously much stronger than 3rd-level Divine Lords. A casual move could slap a large number of 3rd-level Divine Lords to death. Forget about 3rd-level Divine Lords, even 6th-level Divine Lords, he would similarly insta-kill them too. A mere 3rd-level Divine Lord, he seriously did not place him in his sights. Bang. The next instant, the two people's attacks collided together. The instant they collided, the black-winged youth's expression changed, becoming incredulous. Fresh blood splattered, bones and flesh flying. His palm was directly pierced through by Lu Ming, a bloody hole appearing. Swoosh. The black-winged youth's figure retreated explosively. So this is your strength. Lu Ming opened his mouth coolly, playing it down but full of mockery. Each of his cells was filled with taboo power. A casual strike, the power was unimaginable. In addition, several kinds of finger-type mystic arts were integrated into the cells of his fingers. That strike just now, the finger-type mystic arts already erupted. The power was very terrifying. The surrounding winged race youths all opened their eyes wide, very surprised. A third-level Divine Lord actually injured a seventh-level Divine Lord in one move. This was abnormal, too shocking and terrifying. Simply inconceivable. Damn it, kid, I didn't use much strength at all just now, not even 1/10 of it. Again. The black-winged youth roared angrily. He had indeed only used a trace of strength just now. In his view, a mere third-level Divine Lord was still someone he could suppress with a flip of his hand. How much strength did he need? Now he knew that he was careless. Bang. The black-winged youth erupted with thick black light all over his body. His cultivation of a seventh-level Divine Lord completely erupted. A resplendent battle sword was grasped in his hand. Kill? The sword light was shocking as it slashed toward Lu Ming, illuminating the starry sky. Even in the face of the black-winged youth who had erupted with all his strength, Lu Ming's expression was still calm. He formed a sword with his finger and slashed out. A terrifying sword light burst out from Lu Ming's finger. Boom. The two sword lights collided, and sword chi spread out in all directions. The meteorites under their feet directly exploded and then were cut into ashes by the sword chi. The other winged race prodigies quickly retreated, leaving this area. The next moment, a figure retreated repeatedly. It was still the black-winged youth. That's all you've got? Too weak. Suppress. Lu Ming bellowed and dashed toward the other party. He waved his fists continuously, causing the void to vibrate. The terrifying fist pressure was like a violent storm, pressing toward the black-winged youth. How is this possible? Damn it. The black-winged youth was shocked to the extreme and at the same time he was furious. He erupted with all his strength to resist Lu Ming. But it was destined to be futile. Boom. Boom. The two of them exchanged several moves, and the black-winged youth was completely suppressed. He wasn't a match at all. Bang. Lu Ming's fist struck his wing. His wing was broken and black feathers fluttered. Then Lu Ming's fist struck his chest. A large hole appeared in his chest and his bones broke. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. He retreated, smashing through several meteorites. He vomited large mouthfuls of blood. He was heavily injured. Of course, this was the result of Lu Ming showing mercy. Otherwise he would have already been killed. See. The sound of gasps rang out. The other winged race prodigies were filled with shock. Chapter 3702. All the prodigies of the winged men race looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming could actually defeat the black winged men race. This was too unbelievable. This talent was simply heaven-defying. Where did he come from? Why had they never heard of him before? This talent was even more powerful and terrifying than Lu Ming in the dragon race's mother planet. Damn bastard, attack. Let's attack together and kill this person. The black-winged men race youth stabilized his injuries and roared like a madman. He had actually been defeated by a third-level Divine Lord, and it seemed like he had been defeated easily. This was a great humiliation. He was furious and couldn't wait to turn Lu Ming into ashes. Enough. At this moment, a dignified and cold voice rang out. A silver-haired youth stepped out. This was another winged men race youth. His cultivation was very high, reaching the 8th-level Divine Lord realm. He was the leader of the winged men race. "Ini, kill this person for me." The black winged men race youth roared. "Enough. Stop right now." The silver-haired youth Ini reprimanded coldly. The black winged men race youth immediately stopped talking, as if he was afraid of Ini. "Brother Mu's combat prowess is really admirable. You have such combat prowess at the 3rd-level Divine Lord realm. Even Lu Ming can't compare to you. I'm afraid not many people in the top 10 clans can be compared to Brother Mu." Ini said. "Brother Ian, you flatter me. How could I dare to compare with the prodigies of the top 10 races? The difference is too great." Lu Ming said modestly. "Brother Mu wants to kill the divine dragon to provoke Lu Ming and the remaining members of the dragon race. My winged men race also has the same intention. Moreover, we happen to know a place where the divine dragons gather. Brother Mu, are you willing to come with us?" Ini said. "That's what I want." Lu Ming readily agreed. The black-winged men race youth swallowed a healing pill to heal his injuries. He glared at Lu Ming with cold light flashing in his eyes. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered with him. After that, Lu Ming followed Yin Yi and the others and left the dragon race's mother planet, heading towards the territory controlled by the winged men race. A few days later they arrived at a planet controlled by the winged clan. The people living on this planet were all from the winged men clan. There were all kinds of winged people. There were thunder-winged beings, storm-winged beings, snow-winged beings, shadowless-winged beings, gold-winged beings, and so on. Lu Ming was arranged to stay in a side courtyard. In another hall, the silver-winged clan, black-winged clan, and the others had gathered. Silver Wing, why did you bring Mu Yun along? Why didn't we work together to kill him? The black-winged youth said, still filled with hatred and killing intent towards Lu Ming. There's no need to kill him for now. He's very strong and can be used by us. Silver Wing said, his eyes flashing with wisdom. We're going to the place where the divine dragons gather. There are many powerful divine dragons in that medium-sized world. Our god kings can't go in, so it's still dangerous for us to take down that divine dragon world. Isn't it better to let this person take the lead as cannon fodder? Silver Wing continued. Wonderful, wonderful. The other winged nation youths all praised him. The black-winged youth's eyes also lit up. Not only Mu Yun, we also need to gather a group of experts from other clans to enter that medium-sized world and let them be cannon fodder. Alright, I'll go find Lord Feng Chu now and ask him to arrange this operation to capture the divine dragons. After saying that, he left the place. The Lord Feng Chu he mentioned was the commander of the Winged Men clan in this star field, a very powerful God King expert. When Silver Wing mentioned this matter, Commander Feng Chu immediately agreed to send experts to help them. Moreover, Feng Chu also wanted to gather a group of people from other clans to be cannon fodder. Silver Wing naturally agreed. The area controlled by the Winged Men clan was the border of the Winged Men clan, close to the other clans. At the same time, it was also a bustling commercial area, where people from other clans often came to do business. This time, the Winged Men clan offered a generous reward, so when the news came out, many people came to sign up. After 2 rounds of screening, the strongest 100 people were selected. Lu Ming certainly didn't need to be selected as he had already proven himself. Just like this, after everything was settled, it was already a month later. At this time, the Winged Men clan began to set off. This time, a few God Kings personally led the team, the Winged Men clan, and the experts from other clans added up to more than 500 people. Together they came to a relatively barren star river. In front of them there were 9 stars, arranged in a strange way, forming a line. The entrance to the medium-sized world of the Divine Dragon clan is here. Silver Wing said. Let me open it. A God King expert of the Winged Men clan flew forward, his body blossoming with divine light, and a terrifying aura pervaded the air. The wings behind his back flapped, a powerful force burst out, entangling the 9 stars, and then the 9 stars were pushed and moved slowly. Rumble. The starry sky shook and finally the 9 stars arranged themselves into the shape of a dragon. Then the void rippled like water, and a gap appeared in the starry sky. The gap has been opened, go in. After you succeed, send a message through the illusory divine jade and I will open the passage again. The God King said. This was a medium-sized world, very similar to a small kiliacosm, attached to the chaotic universe. However, a medium-sized world was much more stable than a small kiliacosm, and the cultivation environment was also much better, and it could accommodate more experts. For example, in the primordial world of the heavenly world where Lu Ming was, 3rd level void god realm was the limit. Any stronger and the small kiliacosm could easily collapse. The medium-sized world in front of them could only accommodate quasi-emperors. If a god king went in, the whole world could easily collapse. Therefore, the strongest expert that went in this time was a quasi-emperor. Let's go. Silver Wing took the lead, flying forward. Then the others also moved, flying towards the passage. Lu Ming followed them, entering the passage together. In the next moment, Lu Ming and the others stood on a mountain peak. In the sky, there was a huge passageway that was slowly rotating. After they all entered, the passageway slowly disappeared. Let's go in batches, 5 batches. Each batch has about 100 people. If you see a divine dragon, try not to kill it. Once you capture it, put it in your Jianghu bag, and then go to the outer region of the Dragon Clan's mother planet to fight. Understand? Silver Wing said. The others nodded. Among these people, Silver Wing's status was the highest. He was the top genius. Although there were many quasi-emperors present, they were all seniors. Although their combat strength was stronger than Silver Wing's, their talent was far from comparable. Naturally, their status was lower than Silver Wings. Then they divided into 5 batches. Whether it was intentional or not, Lu Ming's Silver Wing and the Black Winged Man youth were in the same group. When the Black Winged Man youth looked at Lu Ming, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Chapter 3703. Over 500 people split into 5 groups and headed off in 5 different directions. Lu Ming's Silver Wing and the rest, together with nearly 100 people, flew toward the front and left. Whoosh. When they flew past, the space was split open like water ripples, allowing their speed to be astonishingly fast. It was as if they were breaking through space to advance. What a fragile space, Lu Ming pondered. The stability of space here was worlds apart from the primitive universe. Lu Ming felt like he could break space with just a slight movement. It was the same feeling as when Lu Ming's cultivation base had reached the peak of that world. He could break space at will. Before long they arrived in front of a castle. This castle was where the divine dragons gathered. Lu Zhan, check the cultivation base of the strongest dragon in this castle. Silver Wing instructed an old winged man with a crooked nose. Although this old winged man was a quasi-emperor, he was very old and didn't have much lifespan left. He wouldn't be able to break through to the divine emperor realm in his lifetime, so his status was much lower than Silver Wing's. Yes. The old winged man, Lu Zhan, spread out his spiritual sense, enveloping the entire castle. After a while, Lu Zhan said, "Young master, the strongest is a 4th-level divine lord." "Only a 4th-level divine lord. Then attack." Silver Wing stepped into the air. The others also flew forward. The strongest was a 4th-level divine lord, so they didn't feel any pressure. Set up the formation. The dragons in the castle also noticed Silver Wing's group. The castle lit up and dragon roars rang out. A grand formation appeared, enveloping the castle. "You want to stop me with a mere formation? You're dreaming." Silver Wing sneered. The silver wings on his back lit up, turning into a saber light that slashed out. Boom. The saber light slashed the castle's formation, causing it to explode. It couldn't withstand Silver Wing's attack. Then Silver Wing reached out with a large hand and grabbed it. "Fight them." Roar. Angry roars could be heard from the castle, and numerous divine dragons flew out. Most of these divine dragons were 5-clawed divine dragons. Only a few were 6-clawed divine dragons. The highest cultivation was merely 4th-level divine lord. The difference was too great, there was no comparison at all. Silverwing's claw grabbed at that 4th-level divine lord's 6-clawed divine dragon, directly crushing the other party's attack and defense, grabbing the other party in his hand like grabbing a small bug. Then Silver Wing took out a golden pouch. The bag expanded rapidly. Then Silver Wing grabbed Shenlong and stuffed him into the bag. They were not going to kill them here. They were going to bring them outside the dragon race's mother planet. They were going to hunt these dragons, drink their blood and eat their meat. Then they were going to send it to the illusory space for Lu Ming to see and stimulate Lu Ming, Ao Yen and the others. Haha, little reptile, surrender now that you're dead. Can't even withstand a single blow. The people of the Winged Men tribe and the other tribes laughed heartily. They used their techniques to capture all the mystical dragons and stuffed them into the golden pouch. The golden pouch was called the Chenkuan pouch and it could hold living things. Soon, all the mystical dragons in the castle were taken down. The castle was also razed to the ground. Then they continued forward. Whenever they came across a castle or city, they would immediately capture the mystical dragons and stuff them into the Chenkuan pouch. In less than a day they had captured thousands of mystical dragons. The next day they came to a strange place. There was a huge mountain in front of them. On the side of the mountain there was a huge cave. It was more than 100 miles wide and unfathomably deep. This was a dragon's den. Wherever there was a dragon's den, there would definitely be a large number of mystical dragons gathered. Moreover, there might be extremely powerful existences. This dragon's den is not simple. It's very likely that there are 9th-level divine lords, or even quasi-emperors. The old winged man Lu Zhan transmitted to Silverwing. Silverwing nodded silently. Then he turned and transmitted to the other winged men. There should be quite a few mystical dragons in this dragon's den. I'll leave it to you. Go and capture the mystical dragons in this dragon's den. The black winged man youth stepped forward. His sharp and cold gaze swept over Lu Ming and the other tribes. There were about 100 people from the other tribes in total. They were divided into 5 groups. There were about 20 of them here. Many people's expressions changed when the black-winged man youth's gaze swept over them. "Let us go." "Why don't you go?" An old man who looked like a gorilla asked. "It's just a dragon's den. There's no need for us to go." You guys can go. You have to work here. The black-winged man youth said. I think you want us to be cannon fodder. There's definitely a terrifying existence in this dragon's den. There might even be quasi-emperors. If the 20 of us go, I'm afraid it won't bode well for us. At this moment Lu Ming spoke. The bone demon resided in his sea of consciousness. The bone demon didn't follow his past self. Instead he followed his present self out. He didn't want to be trapped in the dragon race's mother planet. With the bone demon around, he clearly knew that there were quasi-emperors in this dragon's den. Moreover, there were no quasi-emperors among the 20 of them. Letting them take the lead would be suicide. The winged men clearly wanted them to be cannon fodder. As soon as he said that, the expressions of the 20 experts who weren't from the winged race changed, becoming extremely unsightly. Kid, what nonsense are you talking about? The black-winged man youth stared coldly at Lu Ming. I'm talking nonsense. Haha, this dragon's den is obviously extraordinary. Do you think we're fools? Lu Ming sneered. That's right. If you want to go, we'll go together. What do you mean by asking us to go alone? That's right. We came here to assist the winged men. If you want us to die, I won't do it. At most, I'll withdraw. I won't earn this money. The others started to clamor. Since you're already here, it's not up to you. Eni said coldly. Shua Shua, one of the people present, flashed and formed a semicircle, blocking Lu Ming and the others' escape route. What are you doing? The winged men will offend my clan if you do this. The Sky Traveler clan isn't afraid of you. Some people shouted. If you don't listen to us, no one will know even if we kill you. They'll only think that you died in the hands of the dragon race. Your clansmen will only seek revenge from the dragon race. Eni said coldly. The faces of the other clansmen turned ugly. Obviously they had been tricked. They had no choice but to follow the winged men's orders. Also, this kid has disrupted the morale of the army. He's guilty of a heinous crime. Now you'll be the first to charge into the dragon's den. I'll spare your life. The black-winged man youth looked at Lu Ming and shouted coldly. If you want to go, then go. I'm not interested. Lu Ming replied indifferently. Kid, you're courting death. The black-winged man youth's eyes flashed coldly. His killing intent was as cold as a blade. Divine light spread out from his body. If it wasn't for his fear of Lu Ming, he would have already killed Lu Ming. Chapter 3704. However, Lu Ming did not even look at the black-winged man youth. Everyone, it's obvious that the winged man clan wants us to be cannon fodder and lead the charge. Even if this dragon cave is fine, there will be more and more. How can they let us leave alive after doing such a despicable thing? Lu Ming said loudly. His words made the faces of the 20 experts from various races turn even uglier. Indeed, the winged man clan would definitely let them spread such a despicable thing. They would definitely make them cannon fodder until they died. Many of them revealed a ruthless look. In that case, why don't we fight to the death and kill our way out? Lu Ming said loudly. Kill our way out? Without the winged man clan's divine emperor, you can kill your way out. Also, with the winged man clan's divine emperor guarding outside, you can break out. Silver Wing sneered. Many people turned pale. Indeed, even if they broke out of the encirclement, they would not be able to kill their way out. So, don't listen to this kid's nonsense. Let's cooperate. The winged man clan will not let you die in vain. You just need to check the situation ahead. If there are experts, we will definitely act. Also, if any of you have illusory divine jades, you can spread the news at any time. The winged man clan will not do such a despicable thing. It will be easily spread. Silver Wing continued. Indeed, many people felt relieved after hearing this. However, this kid will have to pay the price for disturbing the morale of the army. Silver Wing looked at Lu Ming with a cold glint in his eyes. He originally wanted to use Lu Ming as cannon fodder, but since Lu Ming did not know what was good for him, he could only get rid of him in advance. Kill him. The black-winged man youth yelled. Kill. With a long roar, someone took the initiative to attack. The first to attack was none other than Lu Ming. Since the battle was unavoidable, Lu Ming would not hesitate. Moreover, his battle intent was strong and he was not afraid, even if the winged man clan had many quasi-emperors. However, these were all ordinary quasi-emperors. Lu Ming had long wanted to see how strong he was when he used his full strength. Lu Ming took the initiative to attack. His target was the black-winged man. Attack. The black-winged man youth roared, his divine power erupted, forming two black sharp blades, slashing towards Lu Ming. Beside the black-winged youth, two old men also made their move. These two old men were both 9th-level divine lord powerful existences. The three of them attacked Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was fearless. He didn't even bother to defend himself. He directly punched out. Boom boom boom, several rumbles in a row. The Black-Winged Youth's and the two 9th level Divine Lord Powerhouse's attacks were directly broken apart by Lu Ming's fist. Lu Ming rushed past, and the remaining attacks landed on Lu Ming's body. They only left a few bloody scars on his body, but they didn't do much damage. Lu Ming continued to attack the Black-Winged Youth. Stop him. The Black-Winged Man Youth was shocked and quickly retreated. As for the two 9th level Divine Lord Elders, they dashed out and attacked, wanting to stop Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming punched out twice, and the two 9th level Divine Lords coughed up blood and retreated. Now Lu Ming had erupted with his full strength. Every cell was trembling and a powerful energy spread out from each cell. The energy of 60 trillion cells intertwined, terrifying to the extreme. Lu Ming instantly arrived in front of the Black-Winged Man Youth. I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming's cold voice rang out, scaring the Black-Winged Man Youth into roaring in fright. Save me. Quickly save me. The Black-Winged Man Youth roared. Kill him. Quickly kill him. Silver Wing also roared. He turned into a silver ray of light and charged at Lu Ming. At the same time, the other winged men experts also attacked. Terrifying attacks surged towards Lu Ming like a storm. Quasi-emperors, and there were many of them. Lu Ming instantly determined that there were at least 10 quasi-emperors among the winged men. However, these people were still a step too late. Lu Ming's attack had already blasted towards the Black-Winged Man Youth. The Black-Winged Man Youth was naturally unwilling to be killed, so he tried his best to resist. However, the fist energy passed through, and the Black-Winged Man Youth's attack was directly defeated. His body suddenly exploded. A destructive force rushed towards his sea of consciousness. How is this possible? The Black-Winged Man Youth's eyes widened in disbelief. Last time he could clearly block several of Lu Ming's moves without dying. This time he couldn't even block one move. Is this his true strength? This was the last thought that flashed through the Black-Winged Man Youth's mind. Then, his soul was turned to ashes under the destructive force. The Black-Winged Man Youth was killed by Lu Ming with a single punch. At this time, the other attacks were about to hit Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming shook his muscles and rushed forward, avoiding many attacks. However, there were still two Quasi-Emperor's attacks that bombarded his back. Lu Ming's body shook violently. The two incomparably sharp attacks broke through his defense and even broke his bones. Lu Ming's body flew out tens of thousands of meters and crashed into a mountain. Lu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood. The strength of a Quasi-Emperor is indeed strong. It's much stronger than a 9th level Divine Monarch. Lu Ming thought. Previously, even a 9th level Divine Monarch expert couldn't break through Lu Ming's defense. However, a Quasi-Emperor directly broke his bones. However, a steady stream of energy emerged from the cells in Lu Ming's wound. As soon as this energy came out, Lu Ming's injuries recovered at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming's injuries were almost healed. Yes, it seems like my strength has increased a bit. Lu Ming was slightly stunned. He felt that after his injuries were healed, his strength had increased a bit, and he was a bit closer to a 4th level Divine Monarch. Could it be that the potential of my cells has been developed? Lu Ming thought of the cultivation method of the taboo energy that Fei Huang had told him. To cultivate the taboo energy, one would normally need to absorb a large amount of energy. However, this energy wouldn't directly increase his cultivation. Instead, it would fuse into each of his cells and strengthen his potential. Only by constantly developing his potential would this energy be transformed into his cultivation. And the injuries he had suffered just now had also unknowingly developed his potential. Am I going to become a masochist? The more I get beaten, the stronger I become. Lu Ming was a bit speechless. Kill? At this time, Silver Wing and the other experts of the winged race had already arrived. Lu Ming's figure flashed and dodged in another direction. At the same time, he constantly punched, his fist energy breaking through the air and resisting some of the attacks. However, the strength of a Quasi-Emperor was truly shocking. Furthermore, there were several middle-aged Quasi-Emperors among them. Their strength was even more terrifying. These people weren't particularly old, but they had already reached the Quasi-Emperor realm. Their talent wasn't weak, and they were stronger than ordinary Quasi-Emperors. Chapter 3705. Boom. There was a violent roar and Lu Ming's body was once again sent flying. He crashed into a few mountain ranges and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, his injuries were quickly healing. At this moment, the dragon's roar rang out. The dragon's cave naturally noticed the commotion and set up a large formation, ready for battle. As for Silver Wing, he led dozens of winged men to attack Lu Ming once again. Come. Lu Ming charged out of the rubble, his battle intent soaring. Boom. He activated the battle character art, increasing his battle strength by 5 times. The battle character art followed his body. Lu Ming had already tested it. Even if it was a taboo energy, activating the battle character art could still increase his battle strength. After activating the battle character art, Lu Ming's battle strength soared. Instead of retreating, he charged toward the winged men, punching out at their attacks. There was a secret technique hidden in each of his fists, and each of his fists was capable of destroying an attack. Lu Ming was bathed in attacks. Dozens of attacks were all defeated. Lu Ming charged through. Although he was covered in blood, he didn't feel anything. He directly charged toward some of the weaker winged men. Boom. After a few punches, several winged men's bodies exploded. They died on the spot. Retreat, all of you retreat. Quasi-emperors surround him. Silver Wing roared. Lu Ming's battle strength had deeply shocked him. Lu Ming was only a 3rd-level divine lord, but he could fight against a quasi-emperor. He could even kill a 9th-level divine lord. This kind of battle strength was simply unimaginable. Even existences below the quasi-emperor level couldn't cause any harm to Lu Ming. Therefore, the winged men below the quasi-emperor level retreated and used long-range attacks to restrain Lu Ming. As for the quasi-emperors, they surrounded Lu Ming. There were a total of 13 quasi-emperors. This was a shocking force. Vast divine power surged. This area was completely boiling. Space was fragmenting and the ground was cracking and exploding. This was only a middle-sized world, and its stability could not be compared to the primitive universe. It could not withstand the full power of more than 10 quasi-emperors. The 13 quasi-emperors unleashed their ultimate moves and attacked Lu Ming. Kill? Lu Ming was not afraid at all. He stared at one of the quasi-emperors and charged over. He did not care about the attacks of the others. Boom boom, Lu Ming's fists continuously punched out, and the space was beaten into a chaotic color. The destructive force completely engulfed the void as it surged toward the quasi-emperor. In the blink of an eye, the two sides had exchanged 5 or 6 moves. It was obvious that Lu Ming had the upper hand. His fist energy pierced through the quasi-emperor's attack. The quasi-emperor coughed out blood and retreated. Lu Ming's fist energy had left a huge hole in his chest. However, at the same time, the attacks of the other quasi-emperors also landed on Lu Ming. Lu Ming's spine, back, shoulders, and other places had been integrated with some defensive secret arts. At this moment, these secret arts were all activated. However, the combined attack of more than 10 quasi-emperors was too powerful. These secret arts could only block a portion of the power. Puchi. Crack. The flesh and blood on Lu Ming's back and shoulders exploded. Even his bones were cracked. Waves of excruciating pain spread throughout his body. However, a large amount of energy immediately surged out of every cell, healing Lu Ming's injuries at an astonishing speed. Lu Ming ignored his injuries and continued to attack that quasi-emperor. His attacks did not stop at all. That quasi-emperor did his best to block, but he had already been injured by Lu Ming and was much weaker. How could he block Lu Ming's attacks? After a few more punches, that quasi-emperor screamed miserably. His body was torn apart, and his soul also turned to ashes under the violent power. A quasi-emperor was killed just like that. Back then, in the Taishu dynasty, a quasi-emperor was a supreme existence for Lu Ming. In the battle between the Taishu dynasty, the Wu people, and the Tianyi sacred dynasty, a quasi-emperor could play a key role in determining victory or defeat. Now, Lu Ming had killed a quasi-emperor with his own hands. Moreover, this quasi-emperor was from the Wingmen clan. His combat strength was much stronger than that of the quasi-emperors of the Taishu dynasty. In other words, now that Lu Ming had returned to the Taishu dynasty, no one except the immortal demon was his match. However, killing a quasi-emperor was not without a price. Lu Ming was attacked again. The place where he was attacked was badly mutilated, and many of his bones were broken. It was a horrible sight. After being seriously injured, even with Lu Ming's recovery ability, it was difficult for him to recover in a short time. Kill him completely. I want him to die without a burial place. Silver Wing roared hysterically. Lu Ming's combat strength frightened him from the bottom of his soul. This kind of combat strength, this kind of talent, was too monstrous. If he didn't get rid of Lu Ming today, he would be the one to die in the future. There were still 12 quasi-emperors left. They once again used their trump cards to attack Lu Ming. If you want to kill me, you have to pay the price. Lu Ming shouted coldly. He continued to stare at one of the quasi-emperors and attacked. Boom, boom, boom. His attacks were like a storm, constantly surging toward that quasi-emperor. Just like before, he completely ignored the attacks of the others. Damn it. That quasi-emperor was frightened because he found that although Lu Ming was injured, his combat strength had not weakened at all. The two of them exchanged a few moves. He felt that the bones in his hand were broken, his wings were pierced and feathers were flying everywhere. At this time Lu Ming was attacked again. His chest was pierced. Even his head had suffered a heavy blow, causing him to feel a little dizzy. Lu Ming endured the pain. His attacks did not weaken at all. Finally, that quasi-emperor was unable to endure any longer. He was torn apart by Lu Ming, dying on the spot. Boom. Lu Ming was smashed into the ground. The ground exploded, and everything within hundreds of millions of miles collapsed. Not far away, the dragon cave was protected by the Grand Formation. That was why it was safe. Who is this person? How can he be so monstrous? The 20 people from the other races stared at this scene with their mouths agape. They were so shocked that they couldn't be any more shocked. Lu Ming's combat prowess had deeply shocked these people. Don't split up. Gather together and attack. Don't let him defeat you one by one, roared one of the quasi-emperors. The remaining 11 quasi-emperors gathered together and chased after Lu Ming. Bang! The ground exploded and Lu Ming charged out. But this time Lu Ming did not charge at them. Instead, he flew into the distance. He fled. Lu Ming did not continue fighting because his injuries were too heavy. If he continued fighting, it would not be good for him. Furthermore, as the battle continued, Lu Ming felt that his recovery ability was weakening. This made Lu Ming feel uncertain. Lu Ming was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared over the horizon. Chase. The 11 quasi-emperors, as well as Silver Wing and the others, chased after Lu Ming. But they found that Lu Ming was very fast, even faster than quasi-emperors. The distance between them was slowly increasing. 2 hours later, they could no longer see Lu Ming's figure. Chapter 3706. Stop chasing. At this time, Silver Wing shouted. Although he was unwilling, he could only give up. Young master, this kid is too monstrous. We must get rid of him or else we won't be able to live in peace in the future. The winged man Lu Zhan said. It doesn't matter. Even if we let him escape, he won't be able to leave this world. There are divine emperors of the winged men guarding outside. He'll be courting death if he goes out. Let's capture the divine dragons of this world first, then let the divine emperors destroy this world. That kid will definitely die. Silver Wing said, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Young master, you're right. That kid can't run forever. Let's go capture the divine dragons first, Lu Zhan said. Then they left this place and headed to the dragon cave. After Lu Ming shook off the winged men, he flew for more than an hour. After a few hours, Lu Ming's injuries were almost healed. There were no visible wounds on the surface of his body. Lu Ming found a secluded place and sat down cross-legged. Forbidden energy is indeed magical. It's said that even a single cell can come back to life. Looks like it's true. However, it should require a large amount of energy. The energy I absorbed from those divine herbs seems to be running out. Lu Ming pondered. After this battle, Lu Ming had a better understanding of the effects of the taboo power. Each of his cells contained forbidden energy, which contained the energy of divine herbs. Therefore, when he was injured, the energy would be stimulated, allowing him to recover quickly. However, when the energy was exhausted, it would be much slower for him to recover. Looks like I'll have to absorb more energy in the future and store it in my cells to increase my potential, Lu Ming said. He carefully sensed that every cell in his body was filled with a sense of hunger. This was a sign of energy deficiency. Then let's refine some divine herbs first. Lu Ming waved his hand, and many divine herbs appeared in his hand. When Lu Ming left the dragon race's mother planet, he brought a large amount of divine herbs with him. After all, his past self was still on the dragon clan's mother planet. There was no shortage of elixirs at all. Hence, most of the elixirs that he had obtained previously were carried by his current self. Lu Ming took out a stock of divine medicine. With a thought, his body trembled slightly. Every cell in his body emitted a powerful attractive force. The energy of this stock of divine medicine was quickly absorbed. Soon, the energy of the entire stock of divine medicine was completely absorbed by the cells and distributed to each of them. The energy of a divine herb was distributed to 60 trillion cells. Each cell couldn't get much. Lu Ming could still feel the hunger in his cells. Lu Ming continued to refine the second divine herb. Just like that, Lu Ming continued to refine the godly herbs. After refining a few dozen stalks of godly herbs, the hunger finally subsided a little. Only about 3%. Lu Ming muttered. He had a feeling that the energy stored in his cells had only reached about 3%. He could continue to store more energy to increase his potential. The more he stored, the more he could be reborn even if he was left with only a single cell. Continue. Then Lu Ming took out a stock of Divine Emperor level Divine Herb. Divine Emperor level Divine Herbs were used by Divine Emperors. Generally speaking, Divine Lords couldn't use them. If the medicinal power was too strong, they would explode. But Lu Ming didn't have such a problem now. 60 trillion cells could absorb energy. How much could he absorb? Begin. Lu Ming held the Divine Emperor level Divine Herb. His cells emitted a strong attractive force. The medicinal power of the Divine Herb was constantly being absorbed by his cells. However, the medicinal power of a Divine Emperor level Divine Herb was unusually strong. Lu Ming spent a total of 5 days to completely absorb the medicinal power of this stock of Divine Herb. It's almost at 20%. Lu Ming sensed the situation of his cells. Moreover, my cultivation is about to break through. I should take the opportunity to break through in one go. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. Previously, he had fought with the winged men and killed 2 quasi-emperors. He had also been seriously injured. Such a life-and-death battle was very beneficial to stimulating one's potential. With his potential stimulated, Lu Ming's cultivation rapidly increased. He was only a paper away from 4th level Divine Lord. Lu Ming only needed to break through this paper and his cultivation would naturally be able to break through. Lu Ming began to cultivate according to the cultivation method of the taboo power that Fei Huang had passed on to him. Buzz. Lu Ming swung his fists. The void trembled slightly. As he swung his fists, the muscles, bones and blood in his body rhythmically vibrated along with his fists. All the cells in his body also vibrated along with his fists. Traces of potential were stimulated, strengthening Lu Ming. Lu Ming focused on cultivating. The speed at which he swung his fists became faster and faster. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. After 3 days of continuous cultivation, Lu Ming's aura had reached its peak. Boom. Lu Ming, who was swinging his fists, suddenly felt the strength in his body skyrocket. The taboo power that emerged from every cell was even stronger. Breakthrough. Lu Ming's cultivation had finally broken through to 4th level Divine Lord. This caused Lu Ming's battle strength to skyrocket. Not bad. Lu Ming stopped and nodded. I hope the winged men haven't left yet. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Then his figure moved and he broke through the void. His direction was the depths of this world. Soon, Lu Ming returned to the dragon cave that he had passed by previously. At this moment, the dragon cave had already collapsed. There was not a single divine dragon inside. This dragon cave only had 1 quasi-emperor at most. Could not stop Silver Wing and the others at all. It was expected that it would be broken through. Lu Ming continued forward. Along the way he saw many broken castles, cities and dragon caves. This world was a mess. Suddenly Lu Ming's gaze changed. He sensed a weak dragon energy in one of the dragon caves. Lu Ming's taboo power had been refined by the dragon race's experts for a long time. It now had some dragon characteristics. So Lu Ming was very sensitive to dragon energy. Lu Ming entered the dragon's lair and discovered a divine dragon in an extremely secretive place. This was a 7-clawed divine dragon. It was very young. When it realized that Lu Ming had discovered it, it roared and charged at Lu Ming. I'll fight you to the death. The 7-clawed divine dragon roared, its eyes red. Its claws repeatedly clawed at Lu Ming. However, this divine dragon was only a 1st level Divine Lord. The difference between it and Lu Ming was too great. Lu Ming reached out a hand and grabbed it. His palm expanded rapidly and he grabbed the 7-clawed divine dragon in his hand. The 7-clawed divine dragon struggled with all its might, but it could not move at all. Damn it! Despicable outsiders, you will all die a horrible death. The divine dragon cursed with all its might. I'm not with those birdmen. I'm a friend of the dragon race. Lu Ming said. You want to lie to me? No way. The divine dragon's eyes widened. It clearly did not believe him. Chapter 3707. You're my prisoner now, why would I lie to you? Lu Ming said indifferently. The 7-clawed divine dragon was stunned. Indeed, it was a piece of cake for Lu Ming to kill him. It was also a piece of cake for Lu Ming to obtain his belongings. Why would he need to lie to him? For a moment, the 7-clawed divine dragon did not say a word. Let me ask you, where did those birdmen go? Lu Ming asked. You're really not with those birdmen? The 7-clawed divine dragon asked again. Don't worry, I have a grudge with those birdmen. I'm looking for them to take revenge. Moreover, I'm old friends with the dragon race. I'll save you and send you to the dragon race's mother planet. Lu Ming said. What? You can send us to the dragon race's mother planet? The seven-clawed divine dragon's eyes were wide open, full of doubt, shock, and disbelief. The dragon race's mother planet was a legend to him. He was young and had only heard of the legends of the dragon race's mother planet from the older generation. He heard that the dragon race was once incomparably powerful and dominated the universe. The dragon race's mother planet was the holy land of all the dragon race, worshipped by thousands of dragons. But later, the dragon race was destroyed and the dragon race's mother planet was sealed. The dragon race became the mounts and food of others. It was a tragic sight. And now, Lu Ming could actually bring him to the dragon race's mother planet. He was both excited and in disbelief. Of course. Lu Ming nodded solemnly. All right, I'll believe you this time. Those birdmen are heading to the imperial capital. They're probably going to attack the imperial capital now. I'll bring you there. The seven-clawed divine dragon gritted his teeth and decided to take a gamble. This world was not big. Anyway, even if he did not lead the way, Lu Ming would be able to find the imperial capital very quickly. Immediately they set off. With the seven-clawed divine dragon leading the way, Lu Ming quickly flew in a direction with the seven-clawed divine dragon. Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. He broke through the void and moved forward. Not long after, he saw a dazzling divine light ahead. The dragon god emperors of this world have all arrived. At this moment they were all engaged in an intense battle. The dragon clan soon discovered that the winged men had invaded this world. The experts of the divine dragon imperial capital gathered all the divine dragons in the imperial capital and set up a formation to resist the winged men's attack. The winged men clan had originally been divided into 5 groups. Now they had all gathered together and surrounded the imperial capital. Originally there were about 100 people from other races, but now there were not many left. It could be seen that along the way the winged men clan had used the other races as cannon fodder, and there were many casualties. At this moment, all of the winged men were surrounding the divine dragon imperial capital and bombarding it. Dazzling divine light soared into the sky as hundreds of attacks of all kinds fell upon the dragon god emperor. Above the Shunlong imperial capital, a grand formation appeared to defend against these attacks. However, right now, the Grand Array could not withstand the attacks of so many powerhouses and was already in imminent danger. Block it. You must block it. A dragon's roar was heard in the Shunlong imperial capital. Some of the more powerful divine dragons had solemn looks in their eyes. They could clearly sense that there were more than 50 quasi-emperors in the Winged Men clan. On the divine dragon's side there were also quasi-emperors, but there were only a dozen of them. The difference was too great. Once the grand formation was broken, what awaited them would be defeat and death. They're just the Winged Men clan. Back then, when our dragon clan was at its peak, they would not dare to attack us. They could only bow and scrape before us. Damn it. Some of the divine dragons sighed, their faces filled with sorrow and loneliness. Fight. Even if we die, we must drag them down with us. Prepare for battle. Voices rang out one after another. All of the dragon clan showed an expression of facing death as they prepared to fight to the death with the Winged Men clan. Far away. Wait here. Lu Ming instructed the seven-clawed divine dragon, then stepped out without concealing his aura. Now that his cultivation had reached the 4th level divine lord realm, his combat strength had skyrocketed and there was no need for him to hide it. As soon as Lu Ming appeared, the Winged Men clan sensed him. Is that brat? Lu Ming, that brat, how dare he appear again? A few of the Winged Men clan said coldly. In particular, Silverwing's gaze was extremely cold. Originally, I wanted to get the divine emperors to destroy this world after dealing with the divine dragons and bury this brat here. Since he dares to appear, let's deal with him first. Silverwing's mouth moved slightly as he transmitted a message to some of the Winged Men clan's experts. This time, the Winged Men clan had sent a total of 60 quasi-emperors here. Previously, 2 of them had been killed by Lu Ming, so there were still 58 left. Following Silverwing's order, 20 quasi-emperors stepped out, flapping their wings as they charged toward Lu Ming. They formed a fan shape, forming groups of 2 as they surrounded Lu Ming. They did not dare to underestimate Lu Ming. Silverwing had already warned them that Lu Ming was able to successfully kill 2 quasi-emperors and escape from the encirclement of 13 quasi-emperors. His combat strength was extremely shocking. Many of the Winged Men clan could not help but look over, and the frequency of their attacks decreased. Silverwing and the others did not care. In their opinion, these divine dragons were just turtles in a jar. As long as they dealt with Lu Ming, it would be easy to take down these divine dragons. This brat is not running away. Silver Wing's eyes widened. He originally thought that with so many experts chasing after him, Lu Ming would most likely run away. Unexpectedly, not only did Lu Ming not run away, but he also charged in a direction. Could it be that Lu Ming still thought that he could fight with him? Could it be that Lu Ming's cultivation had a breakthrough? Silver Wing's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Be careful, don't split up. Silver Wing hurriedly shouted. Kill? At this moment, Lu Ming shouted loudly. All the cells in his body vibrated, and a powerful force pushed him forward. His body burst out like a stream of light as he charged toward the two quasi-emperors of the Winged Men clan. Lu Ming's sudden increase in speed was beyond the expectations of the Winged Men clan. In an instant, Lu Ming appeared in front of the two quasi-emperors of the Winged Men clan. Boom! Lu Ming swung his fists and threw out 2 punches in a row. The void exploded as if it was broken into pieces. The violent force crushed toward the two quasi-emperors like a storm. This force is not good. The two quasi-emperors of the Winged Men clan's faces changed drastically. Once Lu Ming made his move, they could feel that Lu Ming's power was simply terrifying. The violent force was so oppressive that they could not catch their breath. Without the slightest hesitation, they burst out with all their strength to resist. However, when Lu Ming's fists landed, their attacks directly collapsed. Lu Ming's fists were unstoppable. There was nothing that could not be broken. 2 shrill screams sounded. The two quasi-emperors of the Winged Men clan were torn apart. They were directly killed and feathers flew everywhere. All of a sudden, the other Winged Men clan members were stunned. There was a moment of absent-mindedness. It was really too shocking. These were 2 quasi-emperors, but Lu Ming had killed them in seconds when they met. They had no room to resist at all and were directly killed. Chapter 3708. All the winged men fell into a momentary daze. However, for an expert like Lu Ming, that momentary daze could determine life and death. How could Lu Ming miss out on such an opportunity? Whoosh! Lu Ming's figure flashed as he charged at the other 2 quasi-emperors, his fists raining down on them. Previously, Lu Ming had activated the battle character art to increase his combat prowess by 5 times, pushing his combat prowess to the peak. When the fist energy descended, even the void was destroyed. Although the 2 quasi-emperors had already reacted and tried their best to block, it was useless. Under the fist energy's pressure, their bodies and bones were crushed, their bodies and souls destroyed. Before Lu Ming broke through, when he activated the battle character art to increase his combat prowess by 5 times, he could already kill ordinary quasi-emperors. Now that he had broken through, his combat prowess had soared. Before Lu Ming, quasi-emperors could not withstand a single blow and could be killed instantly. After killing these 2, Lu Ming's figure did not stop as he charged at the other 2 quasi-emperors. Gather. Gather together. Don't split up. Quickly gather. Those quasi-emperors roared. The other 10-odd quasi-emperors all charged at the 2 quasi-emperors in front of Lu Ming. Those 2 quasi-emperors hastily retreated, wanting to flee. However, they were still a step too late. Kill. Lu Ming hollered and his fist force came crashing down. Lu Ming's fist energy not only contained the power of a taboo but also the various secret techniques that he had fused with his cells. These secret techniques were hidden, but the instant he attacked they still burst forth with astonishing power. As expected, the 2 quasi-emperors of the winged men were easily killed by Lu Ming. In the distance, the 7-clawed divine dragon that Lu Ming brought over was dumbfounded. From the moment Lu Ming attacked until now, it had only been a few breaths of time. However, Lu Ming had already killed 6 quasi-emperors. Such combat prowess was simply shocking. All the divine dragons in the divine dragon royal capital could not help widening their eyes. They did not expect an expert to suddenly appear and kill 6 quasi-emperors of the winged men. Their hearts couldn't help but burn with passion. Lu Ming's battle prowess gave them hope. Perhaps he would be saved today. When Lu Ming killed 6 quasi-emperors in a row, the remaining 14 quasi-emperors who had charged at Lu Ming had already gathered together. Kill! Lu Ming roared. Even though he was facing 14 quasi-emperors, he was still fearless and launched a fierce attack. The 14 quasi-emperors also shouted as they gathered their attacks and attacked Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not evade at all. He swung his fist and rushed forward, meeting the opponent's attack head-on. Boom boom boom, a terrifying explosion rang out, shaking heaven and earth. The void shattered and the ground cracked. In the end, Lu Ming rushed past. He was still hit by a few attacks. However, as his cultivation had increased, his defensive ability had also increased. Although the attacks of these quasi-emperors had left wounds on Lu Ming's body, they were not very serious. They were only superficial wounds and his bones were not damaged. His injuries were quickly recovering. In the blink of an eye he was completely healed. Come. Only your attacks can stimulate my potential. Lu Ming's eyes shone with a fiery light. He found that as long as there was enough energy stored in his cells and his potential was strong, self-abuse might be a shortcut to a quick breakthrough. Therefore he simply let go of his defense and focused on attacking. Kill, kill, kill. Lu Ming shouted as he stared at the winged men and attacked them. He was too lazy to care about the attacks of the other quasi-emperors. After a few consecutive punches, he defeated the attacks in front of him. Then, a quasi-emperor of the winged men screamed as his chest was penetrated by Lu Ming's punch and his body exploded. Following which Lu Ming's arm shook. Every cell in his body emitted a terrifying force that exploded in all directions all of a sudden. The quasi-emperor's body and head exploded like a watermelon. He died on the spot. Then Lu Ming's left hand slashed out, and a resplendent sword light cut another quasi-emperor in half. His soul was also extinguished by the sword light. As for the other quasi-emperors, their attacks landed on Lu Ming's body, sending Lu Ming flying. His body was in tatters and bleeding. However, Lu Ming's injuries were rapidly recovering. As Lu Ming recovered, he could feel his strength increasing. That's right, being injured actually stimulated his potential. It was many times faster than cultivating by himself. This made Lu Ming even more excited. He decided to find more people to fight in the future. Lu Ming ignored his injuries and charged at the other quasi-emperors as if he didn't care about his life. More importantly, after charging a short distance, his injuries were almost completely healed. Freak, this is freak. Freak, freak. Those quasi-emperors were all horrified. Lu Ming's performance was simply freakish. How were they supposed to fight him? Attack together. Ignore the dragon race's people. Attack together and kill this brat first. Silver Wing roared. He was also incomparably terrified. How long had it been, and Lu Ming's combat strength had increased again. Soon he would become even more terrifying. He had to kill Lu Ming. The remaining 38 quasi-emperors all put down the divine dragon imperial capital and charged at Lu Ming together. However, by the time they arrived, Lu Ming had already killed 2 quasi-emperors of the winged men. Of the 20 quasi-emperors at the start, Lu Ming had already killed 10 of them. Good. Seeing the remaining 38 quasi-emperors charging over, Lu Ming was not shocked. Instead he was delighted. His muscles trembled as he ignored the remaining 10 quasi-emperors and charged at the 38 quasi-emperors. Those 38 quasi-emperors hadn't expected Lu Ming to be so bold as to take the initiative to attack them. So they hadn't gathered together. Now that they saw Lu Ming charging over, they were given a fright. Then all kinds of attacks rained down on Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming did not care about these attacks at all. He charged forward and allowed these attacks to land on his body, leaving wounds on his body. He charged past them and charged toward the few quasi-emperors of the winged men. Not good. Those quasi-emperors' expressions changed. They wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Lu Ming easily killed them. Following that, Lu Ming charged in another direction. Miserable screams rang out continuously. These quasi-emperors weren't a match for Lu Ming. No matter what kind of attacks landed on Lu Ming didn't care. As long as Lu Ming got close, they would die. Furthermore, Lu Ming didn't show any signs of weakening. Instead, he seemed to be getting stronger. Before long, another 10 quasi-emperors of the winged men were killed by Lu Ming. In total, 20 quasi-emperors had died at Lu Ming's hands. Of the 58, only 38 remained. All the remaining winged race members trembled in fear and started to retreat. Run. Just at this moment, a quasi-emperor roared in fear. When he saw Lu Ming charging at him, he immediately turned and fled. The moment he left, the other quasi-emperors also turned and fled in fear. Originally, the remaining quasi-emperors had gathered together. If Lu Ming wanted to kill them, it wouldn't be that easy. But now their formation was in chaos. Chapter 3709. The winged quasi-emperor's formation was messed up, making it harder for them to form a fighting force. Lu Ming charged forward, killing one person with each move. In an instant he killed 5 to 6 people consecutively. Damn it! Retreat! Retreat! Silver Wing roared, his expression ugly. There were so many of them, but they were forced to flee by Lu Ming alone. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. But in this situation, if they did not flee, they would only be killed by Lu Ming one by one. Kill our way out. At this moment, the strongest divine dragon in the divine dragon imperial capital roared. They would not miss this opportunity. Kill our way out. Many divine dragons roared. In an instant, hundreds of powerful divine dragons left the imperial capital and charged toward the winged men. This group of divine dragons had more than a dozen quasi-emperors and more than 109th-level divine lords. Together they were very powerful. And the quasi-emperors of the winged men were being chased by Lu Ming. So, no one from the winged men could stop the divine dragons. Hundreds of winged men experts were killed in a single exchange. The divine dragon experts broke through the formation of the winged men as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The winged men were sent flying in all directions. Kill that silver birdman. A quasi-emperor divine dragon roared and led his men to charge at Silver Wing. Silver Wing's expression changed. Under the protection of several experts, he hurriedly fled. However, the divine dragon experts stared at Silver Wing, not letting him escape. They were getting closer and closer. Save me. Quickly save me. Silver Wing roared. Although he was also a top-notch monstrous talent, he was only at the 8th level Divine Lord realm after all. If he was asked to deal with a boundary emperor, he would probably be a little lacking. Facing more than a dozen boundary emperors at the Divine Dragon realm, only death awaited him. Go save young Master Silver Wing. Quickly. Some of the quasi-emperors of the winged men hurriedly flew towards Silver Wing. Silver Wing's identity was not to be underestimated. Not only was he talented, but he also had a great background. He could not die here. If Silver Wing died here, all of them would die as well. They might even implicate their families. Immediately, many quasi-emperors of the winged race flew towards Silver Wing. Lu Ming was too lazy to care about these people, so he left them to the divine dragon race. Lu Ming charged towards the remaining winged quasi-emperors. Lu Ming intended to kill all of the winged men here. Once the winged men escaped, they would have to face the divine emperor's revenge. Although Lu Ming's current battle prowess was not bad, facing a divine emperor, only death awaited him. Therefore Lu Ming increased his speed to the maximum. The space was as fragile as a piece of paper in front of him. He broke through the void and appeared in front of a quasi-emperor in a flash. He then punched him to death. From afar, one could only see Lu Ming constantly flickering in the air. Every time he flickered, a winged quasi-monarch would be killed by Lu Ming. In less than half a minute, more than 10 quasi-emperors had died at the hands of Lu Ming. Go, let's go. Over 10 quasi-emperors of the winged race rushed over to Silver Wing to protect him. They wanted to bring him away. But how could the divine dragon race let them escape? The winged race had captured a large number of divine dragons along the way, but they had also killed a large number of them. They had long since hated the winged race to the bone. Now that they had a chance to kill the winged race, they were willing to put their lives on the line. The divine dragons raised their heads and roared. Their slender bodies twisted, completely ignoring their own defenses and crazily attacking. For a moment, the winged race were tied down and unable to escape. As for the scattered quasi-emperors of the winged race, they had already been killed by Lu Ming. Following that, Lu Ming charged toward Silver Wing. Damn it! Damn it! Silver Wing kept roaring. He was so scared that he was covered in cold sweat. Lu Ming, I've already sent word that my race's divine emperor will soon charge in. At that time you'll be in a miserable state. If you stop now you'll still have a chance to live. Roared Silver Wing, using the divine emperor to threaten him. He had indeed sent word to the divine emperor guarding the outside world. However, Lu Ming sneered, unmoved. Sending word was within Lu Ming's expectations. But so what? Would the divine emperor dare to charge in? There were many people from the Winged Men clan inside. Once the divine emperor came in, this world would definitely collapse. So the winged race's divine emperor outside would definitely wait for the other winged race members to leave before attacking. As long as the winged race members didn't leave, the divine emperor outside wouldn't dare to attack for a while. This was also why Lu Ming wanted to kill all the winged race members. Once they escaped, he would be in danger. If they didn't, he would be safe. Kill? Roared Lu Ming, crazily attacking. He was covered in blood, but he didn't care. He focused all his energy on attacking. Bang! Several more winged race quasi-emperors were killed. Several 9th-level divine sovereigns were struck by his fist energy and exploded, dying on the spot. On the other side, the divine dragon race also stepped up their attacks, killing several winged race experts. With the divine dragon race holding them back, Lu Ming killed the winged race members even faster and more conveniently. With each move he gained something. This was a completely one-sided massacre. Run! A terrified roar came from the winged men. Then, many winged men scattered like birds and beasts, frantically fleeing in all directions. At this moment of life and death they could no longer care about Silver Wing. But now, the winged race's remaining strength was no longer as strong as the divine dragon race. In fact, they were even weaker. Don't let them escape. Tie them down, roared the divine dragon race. It was like two divine dragons were dealing with one winged race member. They crazily attacked, tightly tying down the winged race member. In their view, as long as they could tie down the winged race members, Lu Ming would be able to kill them. The fact that these winged race members were tied down and unable to break free for a while already represented their fate. Lu Ming's figure flickered as he continued to kill. He first chose a quasi-emperor to kill. The remaining quasi-emperors scattered and were tied down by the divine dragon race's experts. Facing Lu Ming, they had no power to resist at all. They were all killed by Lu Ming. In a dozen seconds, the winged race's quasi-emperors had all died at Lu Ming's hands. The winged race had sent 60 quasi-emperors this time, and all of them had died at Lu Ming's hands. Of course, to a huge race like the winged race, 60 quasi-emperors was nothing. But to Lu Ming this was a great achievement. With the quasi-emperors dead, the remaining 9th-level divine sovereigns were even less of a match for Lu Ming. In front of Lu Ming they had no power to resist. There was no suspense. Lu Ming punched. 7 of them exploded one after another. It didn't take long for the remaining winged race members to be killed. Originally there were still a few from the other races that hadn't died. Lu Ming didn't care about the consequences and dealt with them all. Chapter 37:10. It's settled. Looking at the corpses of the winged men and the feathers on the ground, the divine dragon race was stunned. Previously, when nearly 60 quasi-emperors of the winged men surrounded them, they had despaired. They thought that they would be wiped out this time. They didn't expect Lu Ming to appear at the crucial moment. It seemed that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 4th level of the Divine Lord realm, but his battle strength was simply shocking. He killed the quasi-emperors of the winged men like they were chickens. They had never heard of such battle strength. At this moment, 5 Qingquan bags appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He had obtained them from killing Silver Wing and the others. Lu Ming waved his hand, and the 5 Qingquan bags flew into the sky and rapidly expanded. Then the Qingquan bags opened and out flew divine dragons. The world was filled with the roars of dragons. Divine dragons of different colors flew in the sky. It was a spectacular sight. These divine dragons were all captured by the winged men. As soon as these mystical dragons flew out, they looked around vigilantly. When they saw the divine dragon royal capital, other mystical dragons and no winged men, they relaxed. What's going on? What happened? Are we saved? Those divine dragons were curious. Immediately, a divine dragon in the divine dragon imperial capital recounted what had just happened. When they heard that Lu Ming had killed all the winged men by himself, they were incomparably shocked. Then all the divine dragons flew over to Lu Ming and thanked him. Senior Lulu, you're really too amazing. The 7-clawed divine dragon also flew over. He looked at Lu Ming with reverence and worship. However, Lu Ming didn't relax. Don't be happy too early. The crisis hasn't been resolved yet. The winged men have several god emperors guarding outside. If those god emperors attack, we'll all die, Lu Ming said. The moment he said that, the scene fell silent. All the mystical dragons had ugly expressions on their faces. They knew very well what the consequences of a god emperor attacking would be. This world would be destroyed. Then what do we do? Are we just going to wait? Damn it, let's go out and fight them. Angry roars could be heard. Lu Ming raised his hands and the scene quieted down. After the previous battle, Lu Ming had accumulated a great reputation. Unknowingly, these mystical dragons regarded Lu Ming as their backbone. Actually, there's no need to be afraid. I have a way to send you to the dragon race's mother planet, Lu Ming said. What? You can send us to the dragon race's mother planet? Lu Ming's words caused an uproar. All the mystical dragons were shocked beyond words. The Dragon Clan's mother planet was the legendary Holy Land of the Dragon Clan. Lu Ming could really send them to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. To be honest, not long after I left the mother planet of the dragon race, I met the World Annihilation Divine Dragon Senior Ao Qian. Senior Ao Qian gave me a type of array disc. Before Lu Ming could finish his words, the crowd burst into an uproar. What World Annihilation Divine Dragon Senior Ao Qian? Didn't Senior Ao Qian fall? That's the legendary invincible expert of the Dragon Clan. Do you really know such a great existence? All the dragons stared intently at Lu Ming, their eyes burning with passion. Lu Ming touched his nose speechlessly and said, Senior Ao Qian did not fall. He's now in the Dragon Clan's mother planet. He gave me an array disk that can open a wormhole to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. There's no time to lose. I'll open the wormhole now and send you to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Lu Ming did not delay any further. He took out the 36 array disks that Ao Qian gave him and set up a large array in the air. The 36 array disks were arranged in a circle, emitting a bright light. Then a vortex appeared in the void and a dark passage appeared in the air. Through the wormhole, Lu Ming could vaguely feel the aura of the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Success. Alright, the wormhole is open. Let's go. Lu Ming said. It really is the Dragon Clan's mother planet. I can feel a familiar aura. I'm excited. Many of the mystical dragons looked excited. Let's go, let's go. Some mystical dragons rushed into the wormhole and disappeared. Now they could only choose to trust Lu Ming. With so many winged men here, it was certain that there were god emperors guarding outside. The winged men god emperors outside might think that there were winged men inside, so they did not dare to attack. But as time passed, they would definitely notice that something was wrong. By then it would be too late. Rather than die at the hands of the winged men god emperors, they might as well take a gamble. The wormhole was very big and the dragons shrank their bodies. It could accommodate hundreds of dragons at the same time. There were tens of thousands of dragons in this world. It did not take long for them to successfully pass through the wormhole. In the end, only Lu Ming was left. Lu Ming also rushed into the wormhole. With a thought, the 36 disc arrays flew into Lu Ming's hands. The wormhole was disappearing, but Lu Ming's figure was already flying towards the Dragon Clan's mother planet. When he arrived, the wormhole had also disappeared. Lu Ming did not intend to go out and fight the god emperors. That would be courting death. In a mountain range on the Dragon Clan's mother planet, a large number of dragons descended. What a dense divine aura. Heavens, the density of the divine aura is too shocking. What a stable environment, what a familiar aura. The Dragon Clan's mother planet. I'm sure this is the mother planet. We have really arrived at the mother planet. Many dragons were so excited that they were trembling. Needless to say, as long as they sensed it, they would know that this was the Dragon Clan's mother planet. The Dragon Clan's mother planet was the origin of all dragons. As long as they were divine dragons, they would have a special feeling once they arrived here. They were extremely excited. The cultivation environment here was much better than where they had stayed in the past. Cultivating here, their cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. It would not be like before, where the highest cultivation level they could reach was Quasi-Emperor. I feel that I'm showing signs of a breakthrough. It won't be long before I break through. An old mystical dragon cried out excitedly. This was a Quasi-Emperor. When he was young, he was extremely talented and quickly cultivated to the Quasi-Emperor realm. However, he was unable to break through in that short period of time. He could have left that world to break through, but once he left that world he would definitely not be able to return after breaking through. He might even be hunted down by the other clans. Many big clans coveted a divine dragon of the Divine Emperor realm. It would be very cool to have a Divine Emperor realm dragon pull a carriage. Therefore he had been stuck at the Quasi-Emperor realm for many years. When he arrived at the Dragon Clan's mother planet, he immediately felt that he was about to break through. I'm about to break through too. Many dragons were stimulated and felt that they were about to break through. Chapter 37:11. All of the dragon race beings cheered in excitement. This was their homeland, the sacred land of the dragon race. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. As soon as this figure appeared, it emitted a vast dragon aura. The scene suddenly quietened down. Feeling this vast dragon aura, all the dragons felt extremely pressured. Senior Ao Qian. Lu Ming cupped his fist. The figure in the sky was naturally the World Annihilation Divine Dragon Ao Qian. This is Senior Ao Qian. All the mystical dragons were shaken to their core. The World Annihilation Divine Dragon Ao Qian was the legendary strongest of the dragon race. They actually saw the legend with their own eyes. All the dragons were extremely excited and knelt down to pay their respects. No need to be so polite. Ao Qian waved his hand and a force spread out. All the dragons stood up at the same time. Ao Qian sized up the tens of thousands of divine dragons, and a trace of excitement flashed in the depths of his eyes. Lu Ming, you're not bad. Ao Qian sighed. Bringing back tens of thousands of divine dragons was a huge gain. As long as they were nurtured well, the dragon race would not be exterminated and would prosper. This was the foundation for the dragon race to rise again. Originally, there were only a few divine dragons left on the dragon race's mother planet. With so few divine dragons, how could the dragon race grow stronger? But with tens of thousands of them, The speed of reproduction would be very fast. This is what I should do. In the future, as long as I encounter divine dragons outside, I will send them to the dragon race's mother planet. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Good, good, good. Ao Qian nodded repeatedly and then made arrangements for these divine dragons. The dragon race's mother planet had a vast territory. There were only a few dragon humans left. It was too easy to arrange tens of thousands of divine dragons. As for Lu Ming, he did not leave immediately. Since he was back, he planned to take a batch of divine herbs with him. He had already discovered the secret of the taboo cultivation. It required him to constantly store energy. In this way he would not be afraid of death in a battle. He did not need to defend. Even if he was seriously injured, he could quickly recover and even increase his cultivation. During the battle with the winged men, Lu Ming discovered that his cultivation had increased by a lot. He was quickly approaching the 5th level Divine Lord realm. If such intense life and death great battles came a few more rounds, he would probably be able to break through to 5th level Divine Lord. Of course, the prerequisite was that his cells had stored enough energy and accumulated enough potential. While Lu Ming was plundering the divine herbs, a few winged men god kings outside the middle-sized cosmos had ugly looks on their faces. Naturally, he had received news from Silver Wing and the others. He knew that a Lu Ming with terrifying battle prowess had appeared and was hunting the winged men. However, they did not dare to charge in directly for fear of destroying the world. If that happened, none of the winged ones inside would survive. Therefore they could only wait outside. However, after waiting for an entire day, not a single winged person came out of the medium-sized world. They knew that the winged man inside was most likely dead. If he was fine, how could he not come out? Let me go in and take a look. One of the winged individuals said, his face gloomy. Then they opened the passage and the Divine Emperor Realm winged man stepped in. He retracted his aura to the extreme, not daring to leak it in the slightest. Then he began to search this world. However, after looking around, he did not see a single divine dragon or winged man. The world became empty. There was nothing in it. How can this be? Damn it! The winged man roared. How could the people of this world suddenly disappear without a trace? Boom! He could no longer hold back. A terrifying aura burst out. The aura of a divine emperor was too terrifying. This world could not withstand it at all. With the winged man as the center, a huge spatial crack spread out, extending to the end of the world. Rumble. The entire world shook violently. Heaven and earth shook, the ground cracked, and lava filled the sky. The entire world was being destroyed. Soon the entire world exploded, turning into a void. This world could not withstand the pressure of a divine emperor. Disappear. The winged man god king said coldly. He flapped his wings and 2 rays of light burst out, splitting the world into several pieces. The speed of destruction suddenly increased. The winged man god king broke through the void and left this world, appearing outside. From the outside, one could clearly see that the starry sky was violently distorting, and powerful energy was overflowing. What's going on? The few divine emperors outside immediately asked. The divine emperor who went and told them what he saw. The others were dumbfounded. In the end, they left this place and reported this matter. Half a month later, Lu Ming left the dragon race's mother planet again. This time he brought a lot of divine herbs, enough for him to use for a while. This time, Lu Ming did not go to the area where the Winged Man clan was located. He was afraid that the Winged Man clan was looking for him. Lu Ming chose to go in another direction. The direction he went was the south of the primitive universe. This was because the illusory heavenly palace was located in the south of the primitive universe. He was not in a hurry. He hurried along while cultivating. Half a year later he came to a bustling place. This place was a famous commercial area in the south of the primitive universe. Many seeds and merchants gathered in this area. It also attracted many experts to trade here. Lu Ming came here to find out if the heavenly palace was recruiting heavenly soldiers. Secondly, Lu Ming wanted to buy some secret skills. Previously, he had killed hundreds of Winged Man clan experts and plundered 28 different secret skills from them. Most of these secret skills were related to speed. However, 5 of them had been cultivated by Lu Ming before, so there were only 23 that Lu Ming had not cultivated. In the past half a year, Lu Ming had cultivated these secret skills into secret skill runes and integrated them into his cells. The more secret skill runes he integrated, the stronger Lu Ming's combat strength would be. Therefore, Lu Ming wanted to find more secret skills to cultivate. Planet Shanchuan was a huge and bustling planet. Experts of different races shuttled back and forth. Lu Ming walked on the street. It was too much for his eyes to take in. After strolling for a while, Lu Ming walked into a huge shop. The shop was very big. There were many shelves neatly placed with all kinds of treasures. Divine pills, divine weapons, divine medicines, divine techniques, secret skills, and so on. Dear customer, how can I help you? A beautiful young girl came over and asked with a kind smile. I need to buy some secret skills. Lu Ming went straight to the point, stating his purpose for coming. Oh, what secret skills do you need? I can help you see if there are any. The young girl said. I can buy any secret skills. The more the better. Lu Ming said. Chapter 37:12. You'll buy any secret technique? This time, the young woman was stunned. She looked at Lu Ming in surprise. It wasn't that no one bought ordinary secret techniques, but they wouldn't buy a lot. Usually, they would buy one or two to study and use as a supplementary method. This was because cultivating divine power required secret techniques. Secret techniques were unfathomable and had great potential. Their power was far above ordinary secret techniques. Even if one spent a lifetime to cultivate them, they might not be able to cultivate to the greater success stage. Therefore, there were very few people who cultivated ordinary secret techniques. Unless they hadn't awakened any secret techniques. However, while origin source secret techniques were rare in the Taishu Sacred Court, they were rare in some of the more powerful universe-level powers and even the various powerful races. Almost everyone in some powerful races could awaken secret techniques. Even if some people couldn't awaken them when they were young, they would be able to awaken them when they were older and their cultivation was high. Therefore, there were very few people who would buy a lot of secret techniques at once. Moreover, Lu Ming could buy as many as he wanted, so there were even fewer of them. Sir, do you really want to buy a lot? The young woman asked again. That's right. Lu Ming nodded. Then I'll ask our young master to come out and talk to you. Please wait a moment. The young woman bowed and left. Not long after, the young woman came over with a young man. The man was very handsome and looked to be in his 20s. He was wearing luxurious clothes and had a smile on his face. He walked towards Lu Ming with a trace of curiosity in the depths of his eyes. I'm Jiang Lebang, may I know your name? The young man cupped his fists and smiled. Mu Yun. Lu Ming cupped his fists and replied. Brother Mu, do you want to buy a lot of secret techniques? Jiang Lebang asked. Yes, I already have some secret techniques. I need to buy secret techniques that I don't have. I'll buy as many as you have. Lu Ming said. Brother Mu, please come in and talk in detail. Jiang Lebang said and led Lu Ming to a guest room. Brother Mu, these are all the secret techniques I have. There are a total of 220 secret techniques. Brother Lu, take a look and see which ones you need. Jiang Lebang handed a jade talisman to Lu Ming. There were 220 secret techniques recorded in the jade talisman. Of course, there were only names and introductions. Lu Ming looked at them one by one. There are 60, I already have them. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Many of the secret techniques he had mastered before were commonly used secret techniques. Many people had them, so they were easy to repeat. However, other than these 60 techniques, Lu Ming did not cultivate the remaining 160 techniques. Lu Ming was quite excited to suddenly have 160 more doors. These. Apart from these, I want all of the remaining 160 secret arts. Lu Ming pointed out the 60 secret arts he already possessed. Jiang Lebang's eyes flashed. Buying 160 secret arts at once was a big deal. Naturally, there were different levels of secret skills and their prices were also different. However, the price of 160 secret skills was already very high. Jiang Lebang reported the price of the 160 secret skills. Over the years, Lu Ming had killed a lot of enemies and accumulated a lot of wealth. He was so rich that he paid divine crystals to buy all of them without blinking an eye. After putting away the 160 secret skills, Lu Ming was quite happy. Brother Jiang, if you have other secret skills that I don't have, I want all of them. Lu Ming said. I do want to do business with Brother Mu, but it's not easy to collect these secret skills. However, I do have a way. Brother Mu, you can try it. Maybe you can get a lot of secret skills. Jiang Lebang said. What way? Lu Ming's interest was piqued. He had 60 trillion cells, and every single one of them was infused with a secret technique. The more secret skills integrated, the stronger his battle strength would naturally be. Moreover, according to Fei Huang, he needed to accumulate at the beginning. Only when he had accumulated enough secret skills could he walk his own path and truly transcend. However, it was difficult to do so without enough accumulation. Therefore, to Lu Ming, the more secret techniques he had, the better. On planet Shangchuan, every once in a while there will be a trade fair. At that time, there will be many experts from many races participating. Everyone will take out treasures to trade with others for treasures that they can use. Those people most likely have many secret techniques that they can trade for. Jiang Libang said. Okay, when will the trade fair be held? Lu Ming asked. 3 months later. Jiang Libang said, Brother Mu, what's the name of your illusory divine jade? When there's news, I'll inform you through the illusory divine jade. I don't have any illusory divine jade. Lu Ming said. He had left his previous illusory divine jade to his past self. Although he had obtained a lot of illusory divine jades from others, those illusory divine jades were already bound to others and could not be used. Jiang Libang was also a little speechless. In the primitive universe, only some small forces or very remote places did not have illusory divine jades. It was not difficult for some of the larger forces or races to get their hands on illusory divine jades. Previously, Lu Ming had been very generous and did not seem like someone who could not afford illusory divine jades. Later, Lu Ming bought another illusory divine jade from Jiang Libang and named it Mu Yun. After exchanging contact information with Jiang Libang, Lu Ming bid farewell and found an inn to stay in. Then he began to cultivate secret skills. As Lu Ming cultivated more secret skills, his cultivation speed became faster and faster. This time he had obtained 160 secret skills. In 3 months, Lu Ming had cultivated 60 kinds of secret skills. In this way he had integrated 190 secret skills into every cell in his body. These secret skills came in all kinds. Some were good at speed, some were good at attack, some were good at defense, some were good at support, and so on. Some were good at dispelling poison and some were good at healing. Although the healing and detoxification secret skills were not very useful to Lu Ming now, Lu Ming still cultivated all of them. After cultivating another 60 secret skills, Lu Ming's overall strength became stronger. These secret skills were integrated into every cell in Lu Ming's body. With a thought, they would erupt with astonishing power. At this time, Lu Ming also received news from Jiang Libang that the trading meet was about to begin. Lu Ming was the first to see Jiang Libang. He followed Jiang Libang to a huge hall. The hall was very wide and there were many chairs in the hall. These chairs were arranged in a circle, and there were at least 1,000 chairs. When Lu Ming and Jiang Libang arrived, many people had already arrived and were sitting on the chairs. Some people knew each other and chatted with each other. Some people had cold expressions and sat alone with their eyes closed. After Lu Ming and Jiang Libang arrived, they casually found a seat and sat down. Chapter 37:13. As time passed, more and more people entered the hall. Slowly, the thousands of chairs were filled. That's Yu Chang from the Icy Moon Vine race. It's really him. I didn't expect the Icy Moon Vine race to be here too. A few voices came from the crowd. They were surprised and solemn. Icy Moon Vine race. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This was a big race. They were ranked 437th on the primitive 10,000 tribes board. They were already the top race in the primitive universe. Lu Ming looked up and saw a young man in a silver robe. He walked in with a few middle-aged men and sat down on the chairs. The others quickly bowed to the young man from the Icy Moon Vine race and gave him a flattering smile. The Heavenly Locust race is here too. Another voice rang out. Everyone's gazes shifted to the entrance. A young man in a blue robe with a sinister expression walked into the hall with a few people behind him. The Heavenly Locust race was ranked 356th on the primitive 10,000 tribes board. They were even more terrifying than the Icy Moon Vine race. Wherever the Heavenly Locust race passed, nothing grew. It was terrifying. Yichang, you're here too. What treasures did you bring this time? The young man from the Heavenly Locust race smiled evilly when he saw Yu Chang. Of course I have treasures. Let's see if you have treasures of the same level to exchange. Yu Chang replied coldly. Although the Icy Moon Vine race was ranked lower than the Heavenly Locust race, he was not afraid of them. The young man from the Heavenly Locust race smiled evilly and sat down with his men. As the geniuses of the two races entered, the atmosphere in the hall became tense. An hour later, the hall was filled with people. At this moment, an old man walked in. The old man's hair was white, but he was in high spirits. Thank you for coming to this trade fair. However, there are rules. No fighting is allowed during the trade fair. Don't blame me for being merciless if you break the rules. The old man cupped his fists and said, Of course, of course. Everyone in the hall quickly replied. Even Yu Chang and the young man from the Heavenly Locust race had to be cautious. This was because the old man's background was not to be underestimated. It was said that he was related to the top 100 races on the primitive 10,000 tribes board. The Heavenly Locust race and the Icy Moon Vine race did not dare to act rashly. Alright, let's begin the trade fair. Let this old man start. After the white-haired old man finished speaking, his palm glowed and a small piece of armor appeared in his hand. This armor is called the Soul Anchor Armor. It has a powerful soul defensive ability. Even if you encounter a Spiritus powerhouse of the same level, it can still defend you. The white-haired old man introduced. Against experts of the same level I can defend myself for a bit. Immediately many people's eyes lit up. The soul race was the race with the strongest soul research in the primitive universe. Their soul attacks were unparalleled and terrifying to the extreme. Even the other races in the top 10 were extremely wary of the soul race. And this armor could even defend against the soul attacks of a Spiritus at the same level. Didn't this mean that if one were to encounter the soul attacks of other races at the same level, the effects would be absolutely astonishing? For example, the Wu people might not be able to break this armor even if they were at the same level. Senior, what do you want? What realm can it reach? Immediately, many people started asking questions. This armor can be used until I reach the first godly emperor layer. I need an imperial godly herb. The white-haired old man said. Only the first godly emperor layer. You want an imperial godly herb? Many people felt it was a pity. The first godly emperor layer was already unattainable for ordinary groups of the universe. But for groups of the primitive universe like the list of 10,000 clans, it wasn't that difficult. It could only be used until the first godly emperor layer, which meant that once a cultivator reached the second godly emperor layer, the armor's power would be greatly reduced. At the same time, its value would also be greatly reduced. Besides, he needed an imperial godly herb. Imperial godly herbs were very useful for cultivators of the godly emperor layer. It wasn't worth it to exchange for an armor that could only be used until the first godly emperor layer. Therefore, for a while nobody said anything. After a while, Senior, isn't the demand for an emperor-grade divine medicine a bit too high? Can you change the conditions? Asked someone. This old man needs an emperor-grade divine herb. Is there anyone who wants to trade? Asked the white-haired old man. Nobody replied. Imperial godly herbs were very precious. They were priceless. Of course no one wanted to exchange them. Even though Lu Ming had more than one imperial godly herb, he wasn't interested in the armor. He didn't have a soul in his consciousness. His soul was in every cell of his body. Ordinary soul attacks were useless against him. Therefore he wasn't interested in the armor. After a short time nobody came. The white-haired old man sighed in disappointment. He put the armor away and sat down. I'll do it. After that, a middle-aged man stood up. Then a jade box appeared in his hand. When he opened it, there was a sword-shaped crystal inside. This is a sword god crystal. It's very useful for people who practice the original strength of swords. Can help them sever shackles. I want a spiritual enhancing pill. Who wants it? Asked the middle-aged man. Immediately many people's eyes lit up. How much can your sword god crystal increase the power of sword-type origin source secret arts to sever the shackles? Asked someone. It can increase the efficiency by 50%. Said the middle-aged man. 50%. Many people looked even more excited. Being able to increase the efficiency by 50% was already very good. It could greatly shorten the cultivation time. Originally it would take 10 years. Now it would only take 6 or 7 years. Moreover, for ordinary divine lords and divine emperors, cultivation would take hundreds of millions of years. How much time could this save? However, many people sighed because the spiritual enhancing pill was also very precious. The spiritual enhancing pill could increase a person's potential. Potential was the most important thing for cultivators. Potential determined how far a person could go in the future. It determined the upper limit of a person's cultivation. It was extremely precious. I'll exchange with you. After a while, someone finally spoke. Everyone looked over and saw that it was an old man. The old man took out a jade bottle and walked in front of the middle-aged man. Here's a spiritual enhancing pill. Take it and check it, said the old man. The middle-aged man nodded and took the jade bottle. Then he revealed a satisfied smile. This was indeed a spiritual enhancing pill. He had exchanged it for his children. Increasing the potential of young people was the most important thing. When they got older, it would be difficult to increase their potential. I'll exchange. The middle-aged man handed the sword god crystal to the old man. Both of them had gotten what they wanted and were happy. Satisfied, they returned to their seats. Then the exchange continued. I have a fiery origin fruit here. It's extremely beneficial for cultivating fire-attributed god power. It can help awaken one's origin god power factor, even if it's only 4 or 5 times. I'll exchange it for a treasure that's beneficial for cultivating saber-related origin secret techniques," said a middle-aged woman. Chapter 37:14. Fire Source Fruit. The eyes of many people who cultivated fire-attributed divine power lit up. Then people began to make exchanges. However, Lu Ming was not interested in any of this. In his opinion, the Fire Source Fruit and Sword God Crystal were far inferior to the Life Source Grass and Heavenly Source Fruit he had obtained from the Dragon Clan's mother planet. The Sword God Crystal was only useful for sword-type origin source secret techniques, and its efficiency was only increased by 50%. The Fire Source Fruit was only useful for fire-attributed divine power, and its efficiency was only doubled. Of course, the duration of these two effects was longer than the Life Source Grass and Heavenly Source Fruit. However, the difference in effectiveness was too great. Firstly, the Life Source Grass and Heavenly Source Fruit had no attribute restrictions. They were useful for divine power of any attribute or origin source secret technique. Secondly, refining one of the Life Source Grass and Heavenly Source Fruit could greatly increase one's divine power of origin or origin source secret technique. It did not require much time. The difference in value between these two items was many times greater. The exchanges continued. However, Lu Ming was not interested in the treasures these people took out. Lu Ming was only interested in two treasures. One was a treasure that contained a large amount of energy. However, Lu Ming had many divine herbs in his possession, enough to last him for a while. In addition, Lu Ming was interested in all kinds of secret techniques. This was also the purpose of his visit. However, no one took out any secret techniques to exchange. After a day, at least a few hundred people had exchanged treasures, but none of them was what Lu Ming wanted. Therefore, Lu Ming decided to step forward himself. "Let me." Lu Ming stood up and many people looked at him. His palm glowed, and a divine herb appeared in Lu Ming's hand. This is a monarch-grade divine herb. After refining it, it can increase one's cultivation rapidly. It is also very useful for breaking through to the next realm. Moreover, its medicinal effect is 3 times that of divine herbs of the same level. Lu Ming introduced. That was indeed the case. The Dragon Clan's mother planet had been sealed for so many years. The divine herbs produced in those sacred ruins were extremely potent. They were several times more potent than divine herbs of the same level. Hundreds and thousands of fiery gazes gathered on the divine medicine in Lu Ming's hands. After all, most of the people present were divine monarchs. There were very few divine emperors. The effects of this divine medicine were too great for them. "What do you need?" someone asked. "I want secret techniques. 1 stock of divine medicine for 3 secret techniques that I don't have." Lu Ming said. "Exchange secret technique." Everyone was astonished. Similar to Jiang Libang's previous doubts, ordinary people did not have high requirements for secret techniques. They would only cultivate a few auxiliary secret techniques and mainly cultivate the essence secret techniques. Unless it was a constitution secret technique or one of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. They didn't know why Lu Ming wanted these secret techniques. However, they didn't think too much about it. It was Lu Ming's business if he wanted to exchange so many secret techniques. They only wanted the divine medicine. "I'll switch with you." "I'll do it." Immediately many people shouted. There were at least a few dozen people. "I spoke first." "I'll switch first." "Who said you spoke first? Do you have evidence?" "I was the one who spoke first." Dozens of people began to compete fiercely. "Everyone." Lu Ming raised his hand and the scene quieted down. "Everyone, I have more than 1 stock of divine medicine. As long as you have a secret technique, I'll exchange for it," Lu Ming said. Then everyone quieted down. "I'm the first." An old man rushed out and came in front of Lu Ming. He then took out 3 jade tokens and handed them to Lu Ming. "Little brother, there are 3 secret techniques here. Take a look," the old man said. Lu Ming took it and scanned it with his spiritual consciousness. He shook his head slightly and said, "I already have the Heavenly Eye technique. I need a secret technique that I don't have." "Okay, I'll change it." The old man quickly took out another jade token. Lu Ming took it and scanned it with his spiritual consciousness. He nodded in satisfaction. Lu Ming didn't have this secret technique. Lu Ming handed the divine medicine to the old man and successfully obtained 3 new secret techniques. After putting away the secret techniques, Lu Ming took out another stock of divine medicine. This stock of divine medicine is about the same as the previous one. "I still don't have 3 secret techniques," Lu Ming said. "I'll do it. I'll go first." Immediately, a large group of people shouted. Because Lu Ming needed a secret technique that he didn't have. If he was 1 step early, he would benefit. If he was late and the secret technique he took out overlapped with the previous one, he wouldn't be able to exchange it. Lu Ming was speechless. He could only choose for himself. I'll take this, senior. Lu Ming pointed to a middle-aged burly man and successfully exchanged for 3 new types of secret skills. Just like that, Lu Ming used a total of 10 stocks of divine medicine to exchange for 30 new secret techniques. Now, Lu Ming had 190 secret techniques that he had cultivated, and 130 secret techniques that he hadn't cultivated yet. But at this time, Lu Ming didn't continue to take out divine medicines to exchange. After all, he also needed divine medicines. His future cultivation couldn't be separated from energy. Lu Ming would keep the rest. However, Lu Ming still had several treasures on him. Life Source Grass and Heavenly Source Fruit. The Life Source Grass and Heavenly Source Fruit weren't useful to Lu Ming's current body. They were useful to his past body. So Lu Ming didn't bring many of them with him. He only brought a small amount of each. He was looking for an opportunity to exchange for some resources. With a thought, a stalk of Life Source Grass appeared. This is the Life Source Grass. Everyone should have heard of it before. Lu Ming didn't introduce it too much. It was impossible for them not to know about it. Sure enough, as soon as Lu Ming opened his mouth, the crowd exclaimed in surprise. Then everyone stared at the Life Source Grass with burning eyes. The Life Source Grass was useful to all kinds of divine force. Its effects were amazing. It was the best of the best treasures to cultivate Origin Source divine force. I need a stock of Life Source Grass to exchange for 20 secret techniques that I need. Lu Ming stated his conditions. 20. Everyone looked at each other. Ordinary people wouldn't have too many secret techniques. They couldn't take out 20. Moreover, the secret techniques that Lu Ming needed were the same as the secret techniques that Lu Ming had mastered. He didn't want them. This condition was too difficult. Change your condition. I can use other treasures to exchange with you. A voice sounded. Everyone saw that the one who spoke was the young genius from the heavenly Acrypoid race. His expression was cold, as if he wasn't negotiating with Lu Ming, but giving an order. Everyone was shocked. This was the first time the young genius from the heavenly Acrypoid race had spoken. He must be tempted by the Life Source Grass. Well, the more talented one was, the more tempted they would be to obtain such treasures. The Life Source Grass could save a lot of time. It was too attractive. It could help him to be ahead of the other Sky Prides. Chapter 37:15. Many people sighed. They knew that since the heavenly Acrypoid race's prodigy had spoken, they had no chance of getting the Genesis Grass. Lu Ming dared not to give face to the heavenly Acrypoid race's prodigy. He had to compromise. However, Lu Ming's reaction was beyond everyone's expectations. Lu Ming shook his head and said, I don't need any other treasures. I only need secret skills. 20 secret skills, not one less. These words shook the hearts of the others. Lu Ming actually rejected the heavenly Acrypoid race's prodigy's offer. The heavenly Acrypoid race's prodigy's face was gloomy to begin with. Now it was even gloomier. Brat, do you know who I am? I am from the heavenly Acrypoid race. The heavenly Acrypoid race's prodigy was about to mention his background, but he was interrupted by Lu Ming. I don't care what race you are from. If you don't have any secret skills, shut up. Lu Ming said coldly. Lu Ming did not care what race you were from. He had even killed the 16th ranked Inyang race back in the Dragon race's mother planet. Why would he be afraid of the heavenly Acrypoid race? Many people gasped a breath of cold air. Lu Ming was too daring. He was simply courting death. The heavenly Acrypoid race's prodigy's mouth was half open. Clearly, he hadn't expected that someone on planet Shangchuan would dare to talk back to him like this. Ha, Huang Feng, it seems like he is not giving you face. On the other side, Yu Chang laughed loudly. He was not afraid of the heavenly Acrypoid race. Huang Feng's face was extremely ugly. He glanced coldly at Lu Ming and sat down without saying a word. Brother, I'll take your life origin grass. I'll buy some secret techniques in exchange for it. Yu Chang said. Immediately, Yu Chang took out other treasures and divine gems to buy secret skills from others. He gathered 20 secret skills that Lu Ming needed and exchanged them for the Genesis Grass with Lu Ming. Brother, if you have any more Genesis Grass or similar treasures, I can use other treasures to exchange them with you. Yu Chang glanced at Lu Ming looking expectant. No more. Lu Ming shook his head. He still had the Life Genesis Grass and Heavenly Yuan Fruit, and even Emperor-grade divine herbs, but he had no intention of taking them out. If he exposed too many treasures, he might be targeted by others. Lu Ming was already satisfied with the 50 new secret techniques he obtained this time. The trading continued, and another day passed in the blink of an eye. There weren't any treasures that could move Lu Ming too much. As for the transaction, It was gradually coming to an end. Alright, let's end this transaction. 3 years from now we'll hold another one. You're all welcome. The old man from before announced the end of the trading meet. As the crowd dispersed, Lu Ming and Jiang Libang walked together. This time, Jiang Libang also made 2 transactions and obtained the treasures he needed. He could be considered to have returned from a rewarding journey. On the way, Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. On the other hand, Jiang Libang's expression froze. Because they had been blocked. They were from the Heavenly Locust tribe. Together with 4 burly middle-aged men, Huang Fang stood in front of Lu Ming and the rest. When they saw Lu Ming, the 4 men's figures flashed and surrounded Lu Ming and Jiang Libang. Huang Fang, what do you want? Jiang Libang asked coldly. He had a powerful background and was not afraid of the Heavenly Locust tribe. Jiang Libang, this matter has nothing to do with you. I'm here to look for this brat. Huang Fang said coldly, then smiled wickedly and looked at Lu Ming. Brat, you've got guts. I'll give you a chance now. Give me your storage ring, kneel down and slap yourself 20 times. Kowtow and admit your mistake and I'll spare your life. Huang Fang's eyes flickered with greed as he stared at the storage ring in Lu Ming's hand. He thought that since Lu Ming could take out a stalk of Life Genesis grass, he most likely still had some left. This made him greedy and his eyes burned with desire. That brat is done for. I knew it. That brat is so arrogant and daring to talk back to the Heavenly Locust tribe's Huang Fang. He's really courting death. A 4th-layer divine monarch has such guts. Ah, he's dead for sure. On the side, many people saw the situation here and some of them were gloating. Some people were like that. If someone else did something they did not dare to do, they would be unhappy and hope that the person would be unlucky. But in the next moment they shut up and stared. Because Lu Ming said coldly, scram. Scram. Lu Ming told Huang Fang to scram. Everyone was flabbergasted, even Huang Fang himself was stunned. Even Jiang Libang was dumbfounded. He's dead. This brat is dead for sure. He doesn't know what's good for him. He could have saved his life if he handed over his storage ring, kowtowed, and slapped himself 20 times. But now he's dead for sure. No one can save him. The surrounding people concluded that Lu Ming was dead for sure. The Heavenly Locust tribe was ranked 356th on the list of 10,000 primitive races. This ranking did not seem high, but it was not. The primitive universe was too big. There were countless races and forces. It was like the sands of the Ganges. No one could say for sure. Countless races and forces were scattered throughout the boundless Your-Wilds universe. Not to mention the 356th place, even those that were ranked in the thousands were terrifyingly large clans. They ruled over vast territories and commanded countless living beings. A race like the Heavenly Locust tribe was unimaginably powerful. Not to mention the Heavenly Acrypoid tribe, just Huang Fang and the 4 burly middle-aged men that he brought with him were far from what Lu Ming could handle. They were all quasi-emperors. Killing Lu Ming would be no different from killing an ant. As expected, Huang Fang's expression was extremely ugly. He did not hide his killing intent at all. Brat, I was merciful and wanted to give you a chance. But you didn't know how to cherish it. Now you're dead. I'll sentence you to death. Huang Fang said coldly. He looked at Lu Ming with disdain. He was high and mighty. With one sentence he wanted to sentence Lu Ming to death. Idiot. Lu Ming said indifferently. With that, he stepped forward and was about to leave. Huang Fang was only a 6th-level divine sovereign. The 4 middle-aged men were only quasi-emperors. Not long ago he killed the 130th place winged men. That was 60 quasi-emperors. Why would he care about these people? You're courting death. Huang Fang was about to explode. With a roar, he slashed at Lu Ming with his saber-like palm. The Heavenly Locust tribe had saber-like arms. His attack was not aimed at Lu Ming's head but Lu Ming's arm. He did not want Lu Ming to die so easily. He wanted to torture Lu Ming and let Lu Ming die painfully. He wanted to let others know the consequences of offending him. Swish. Lu Ming did not even look at him. He slashed at Huang Fang with his own palm. You overestimate yourself. Seeing Lu Ming slash at him, Huang Fang almost laughed out loud. His eyes were full of mockery. Lu Ming actually dared to meet his saber palm. His palm was evolved from the Heavenly Locust's front claws. It was sharper and tougher than a real divine weapon. Even a divine weapon would be cut in half by him. Lu Ming was asking for it. Chapter 37:16. It wasn't just Huang Fang, everyone else thought so too. The Heavenly Acrypoid tribe's palm blade was famous throughout the universe. Finally, the 2 palms collided. The result was similar to what everyone had expected. Crack. The sound of an arm breaking rang out, followed by a scream as a figure was sent flying. The only difference was that the person who was sent flying with a broken arm wasn't Lu Ming, but Huang Fang. Huang Fang fell heavily to the ground. One of his arms wasn't just broken, it had completely exploded. His eyes were filled with disbelief and fear. When his palms collided with Lu Ming's, he realized that Lu Ming's palms didn't seem to be made of flesh. They were hundreds of times harder than divine weapons. Everyone else was also dumbfounded, their eyes bulging in disbelief. Putting aside the toughness of his arms, Huang Fang's cultivation base was much higher than Lu Ming's. Huang Fang was a 6th-level divine lord, while Lu Ming was only a 4th-level divine lord. 2 levels higher, but he was defeated by someone 2 levels lower. Attack! Kill him! Kill him for me! Acripoid Fang roared hysterically. You're courting death. Kill! The 4 middle-aged burly men shouted angrily, charging toward Lu Ming with murderous intent. Lu Ming's face was gloomy. With a thought, a powerful force burst forth from every cell in his body. He then charged toward the 4 burly middle-aged men. Both sides used palm blades at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye they had exchanged more than 10 blows. Continuous explosions rang out. Then both sides separated. The difference was that Lu Ming didn't move from his spot, while the 4 middle-aged men were sent flying. They retreated a few hundred steps before regaining their footing. Their bodies trembled as they spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their arms were trembling non-stop and bleeding. They were completely deformed. CSISI everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Everyone stared at Lu Ming as if they had seen a ghost. It was as if they were looking at a monster. A 4th-level divine lord had injured 4 quasi-emperors in an instant. Moreover, they were quasi-emperors of the heavenly Acripoid tribe. Was this a dream? This is unbelievable. Jiang Libang also widened his eyes and stared at Lu Ming in disbelief. Brother Jiang, goodbye. Lu Ming cupped his fists and left. He did not kill Huang Fang and the rest. After all, there were so many people watching. If he killed Huang Fang, the heavenly Acripoid tribe might seek revenge. It was not easy to gain a new identity, he did not want to be hunted down all over the world. Lu Ming left, vanishing in the blink of an eye. Damn it. Huang Fang glared in the direction Lu Ming had left, his eyes filled with hatred. Lu Ming didn't stay on planet Shangchuan. He tore through the air and left planet Shangchuan. He came to a barren planet and began his seclusion. He had to first master the 150 secret techniques in his possession. Lu Ming was familiar with the process. He cultivated one secret skill after another. Time flew and in the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. In these 3 years, Lu Ming had cultivated all 150 secret techniques, fusing them into every cell in his body. There was no doubt that Lu Ming's combat ability had increased. These ordinary secret techniques are limited in power. I wonder how profound the 3,000 ancient secret techniques are. Lu Ming muttered in anticipation. The 3,000 ancient secret techniques were different from ordinary secret techniques. They were profound and unfathomable and their power was boundless. When cultivated to the peak, they were no weaker than an origin source technique with 9 severed shackles. However, until now, Lu Ming had not encountered any of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. He had not seen their power. Now, Lu Ming had already fused 340 secret techniques. After cultivating the secret techniques, Lu Ming took out a divine herb and began to refine it. Lu Ming had stored some energy before and he felt that it had reached 30%. However, during this time, Lu Ming had used up a lot of energy so he continued to store it. The divine herb Lu Ming took out was an emperor-grade divine herb. Its medicinal energy was astonishing. After another 2 years, Lu Ming felt that the energy stored in his cells had reached 50%. The potential was astonishing, and it was just waiting for him to excavate it. Of course, this 50% was relative to Lu Ming's current level. When Lu Ming's cultivation level increased in the future, he would need more energy if he wanted to store 50% of his energy. At this time, Lu Ming's heart shook, and a message appeared in the dream god Jade. It was a message from Jiang Libang. Why would Jiang Libang send me a message at this time? Lu Ming pondered. Jiang Libang's message was not very specific. He only said that there was an opportunity and he wanted to invite Lu Ming along. Lu Ming thought for a moment and decided to go take a look. Now, Lu Ming's combat power had increased, and he had stored a large amount of energy that needed to be excavated. If he wanted to excavate it quickly, taking a risk was the best way. Taking a risk could not only excavate his potential, but also obtain opportunities. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Lu Ming set off for planet Shangchuan. Planet Shangchuan was not far from the barren planet that Lu Ming was on. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at planet Shangchuan and met Jiang Libang. "Brother Jiang, what is this opportunity you mentioned?" asked Lu Ming. "It's related to the ruins of the Skyleap Divine Nation," said Jiang Libang. Skyleap Divine Nation. Lu Ming was puzzled. He had never heard of it. Jiang Libang explained, "The Heavenly Transcendence Divine Nation was a huge divine nation in this star field a few dozen stellar years ago. It was extremely powerful and was not weaker than the races on the Great Desolate 10,000 Races list. However, overnight, the Heavenly Transcendence Divine Nation collapsed and was destroyed, disappearing from the world. A powerful force comparable to the primitive 10,000 Races role disappeared overnight? How could that have happened?" Lu Ming was a bit shocked. Which of the races on the primitive 10,000 Races role didn't have inheritances for countless years? They had a deep foundation and were incomparably powerful. How could it be so easy to destroy them? But they were destroyed overnight. That was shocking. "I don't know. No one knows what happened, but someone speculated." At this point, Jiang Libang stopped. "Speculated what?" asked Lu Ming. I can't say. Brother Mu, you can figure it out yourself." As he spoke, Jiang Libang pointed at the sky. "Heavenly Palace." Two words appeared in Lu Ming's mind. "Now, I found out through a secret channel that the ruins of the Skyleap Divine Nation are about to appear. Someone has found the entrance to the ruins. If it's true, there should be a lot of treasures left inside. This is an opportunity." Jiang Libang's eyes shone with a fiery light. The treasures left behind by a race comparable to the primitive 10,000 Races role would definitely be shocking. "Okay, I'll go with you." Lu Ming nodded and agreed. "Okay, we'll set off in half a month. Not only us but also 3 other forces. Because the entrance was discovered by us," said Jiang Libang. Lu Ming nodded and found a place to stay. Half a month later, they set off for the entrance of the Skyleap Divine Nation. Chapter 37:17. The ruins of the Heavenly Eclipse Divine Nation were located in a special galaxy. This galaxy was shrouded in dense clouds. This galaxy was called the Cloud Mist Galaxy. Lu Ming, Jiang Libang, and a group of experts that Jiang Libang had brought with him appeared outside the Cloud Mist Galaxy. Apart from them, there were also people from 3 other factions. Each side had a large number of people, numbering in the hundreds. So many experts. Lu Ming sensed a little and discovered that among the 4 forces, most of them were quasi-emperors. A large number of quasi-emperors. The rest were mostly 9th-level divine monarchs. After entering the bustling starry sky, the Taishu dynasty couldn't compare to them. The Taishu dynasty was only a pseudo-universal level faction. They couldn't even be considered a true universal level faction. Compared to the bustling starry sky, the difference was too great. Among the powerful races in the starry sky, quasi-emperors were just cannon fodder. Only true divine emperors were considered experts. However, Lu Ming didn't sense the aura of any divine emperors. Of course, perhaps the divine emperors were too strong for Lu Ming to sense. After all, Jiang Libang didn't say that divine emperors couldn't enter the ruins of the Heavenly Eclipse Divine Nation. So Lu Ming didn't dare to be careless. "Let's go in," Jiang Libang said to the other 3 factions. Soon after, the 4 factions gathered and entered the Cloud Mist Galaxy. Someone took out a map and followed it. After half a day, they found a huge stone door floating in the air. The stone door looked very old and was filled with the marks of time. However, it hadn't decayed. "This is the place. This stone door is the entrance to the ruins of the Heavenly Eclipse Divine Nation," a middle-aged man in luxurious clothes said. "Let's begin," Jiang Libang said. Soon after, the 4 factions sent out some experts. These were all formation experts. They surrounded the stone door and began to inscribe formation runes. One rune after another entered the stone door. Not long after, runes appeared on the stone door and slithered around like little snakes. Buzz. Suddenly, the stone door trembled slightly and emitted a dazzling light. The stone door slowly opened, revealing a pitch-black passage. "Let's go." Immediately, one of the factions took the lead and rushed in. "Brother Lu, let's go," Jiang Libang shouted and rushed in with his men. Lu Ming followed closely behind. In the blink of an eye, the people from the 4 major forces disappeared into the tunnel. Lu Ming felt a slight rotation in the void. The next moment he realized that he was already high up in the sky. A strong gravitational force came, causing his body to fall. His heart skipped a beat and his muscles trembled slightly. He stabilized his body and floated in midair. Sweeping his gaze around, he discovered that Jiang Libang and the others were all floating in the air, sizing them up. Lu Ming also looked down. Below them were strange buildings. These buildings were oval-shaped with sharp tops that pierced the sky. As far as the eye could see, there were such buildings everywhere. However, many buildings had collapsed. Some had even collapsed or been split in half. Sword marks and saber marks could be clearly seen on the vast earth. Clearly, a great battle had taken place here some time ago. The heavenly transcendence divine nation was destroyed in a single night. It seems like there was an intense battle there, but outsiders don't know about it. Someone sighed. However, some people had already rushed down to the buildings below. The others were worried that others would be the first to rush down, so they also rushed down. This area was very vast. The people of the major forces had spread out to search for buildings and opportunities. Lu Ming also rushed to a building on the side. When he landed on the ground, he realized that these buildings were really huge. Each one was over 1,000 meters tall. Lu Ming entered a building and discovered that there were many statues on both sides of the building. There were a total of 18 statues. However, these statues were just ordinary statues. They didn't seem to have any value. Lu Ming didn't stop and went inside. It was very chaotic inside. There were also statues, but they had already collapsed. It was a mess. Clearly there had been an intense battle. Lu Ming scanned with his spiritual sense, but didn't find anything valuable. There's something down there. At this time a voice sounded. It was Qiuqiu. Qiuqiu wasn't by the side of the past, but by the side of the present to adventure together. Qiuqiu flew out. A few pairs of claws appeared on its round body and scratched out. The rocks on the ground were pushed aside by Qiuqiu, and then an iron rod was revealed. To be precise, it was half an iron rod. The other half had already disappeared. Qiuqiu jumped up excitedly, opened its mouth and swallowed half of the iron rod in one gulp. This is a treasure. Lu Ming was curious. Treasure, it's a treasure. Qiuqiu cried out. Lu Ming also revealed a look of joy, hoping that Qiuqiu's cultivation could improve greatly. During this period of time on the dragon race's mother planet, Lu Ming killed a large number of enemies and obtained countless divine weapons. Most of these divine weapons entered Qiuqiu's stomach. Qiuqiu's cultivation also advanced by leaps and bounds, reaching the peak of the 5th level Divine Lord Realm. It wasn't far from the 6th level Divine Lord Realm. There weren't many things that could be called treasures by Qiuqiu. After Qiuqiu ate it, its cultivation would most likely improve greatly, and it might even evolve a corresponding attack method. After Qiuqiu ate it, it turned back into a bracelet and wore it on Lu Ming's hand. The bracelet that Qiuqiu turned into was very common, and there were plenty of them on the streets. He wasn't afraid that others would recognize him based on this. After searching for a while, he didn't find anything and continued to move on to other buildings. Next, Lu Ming searched several buildings but didn't find much. He did find a few damaged weapons, but they weren't called treasures by Qiuqiu. They could only be said to be ordinary. Let's go up and take a look. Lu Ming pondered. Because he had previously discovered that some buildings were built on top of a peak in front of him. Perhaps there would be a big discovery at the center of these buildings. Lu Ming left the buildings and flew towards that peak. Clearly, many people had the same idea as him. They didn't find anything in these buildings, so they all flew towards those buildings on the peak. However, everyone stopped at the foot of the mountain. At the foot of the mountain there was a tall stone pagoda standing there. The stone pagoda looked very shabby, but it emitted a grand and lofty aura. Many people's eyes flickered, wondering if there was a treasure in this stone pagoda. Look, there's blood on the stone pagoda. Suddenly, someone shouted. Everyone looked carefully and their hearts shook. Sure enough, there was blood on the stone pagoda. Moreover, it looked like fresh blood, bright red and even slowly flowing. It looked like it had just been splashed. Moreover, this fresh blood also emitted a terrifying aura. Could it be that this stone pagoda is suppressing something? Someone guessed. Should we move the stone pagoda and take a look? Someone suggested. But the others looked at each other in dismay. This stone pagoda looked very strange. If they moved it and something strange happened, wouldn't they be asking for trouble? Chapter 37:18. Everyone was a little uncertain. If there were treasures in the tower, wouldn't it be a pity if they didn't move it? But if there was something strange, wouldn't it be dangerous? At this time, Lu Ming noticed something strange. When he stared at the blood on the tower, it seemed to emit a dazzling red light. Then the red light spread, and the world in Lu Ming's eyes became blood red. Then the world suddenly changed. The location was still the same, but the people had changed. Jiang Libang and the others had disappeared, and countless others had appeared. Kill! Battle cries shook the heavens. Many experts flew out from various buildings and soared into the air, charging towards the sky. Violent rumbles came from the sky. Disloyal people, all of you should die. A cold voice came from the sky. Lu Ming looked toward the sky and saw the clouds churning in the sky. He could vaguely see a few huge figures. They weren't humans and they were covered by the clouds. He couldn't see their specific appearances. He could vaguely see an existence that looked like a crocodile, and its body was as big as a small mountain. There was also a giant octopus with 8 tentacles that waved around, bringing with them bolts of lightning. As soon as the voice finished speaking, attacks fell from the sky. The lightning bolts were as thick as mountains and there were also axes chopping down. Immediately the world was filled with miserable screams. Lightning filled the sky and axes filled the sky. Those figures that had soared into the sky were directly turned to ashes by the terrifying attacks. Large numbers of experts were killed. The scene was incomparably tragic. Lightning sea destroys the world. A cold voice came from the sky. Boundless thunder and lightning formed a sea of thunderstorms that pressed down on the ground. Amidst the thunderstorm there was also a terrifying axe radiance. The sea of lightning enveloped all the buildings and countless figures exploded and turned to ashes. Disloyal people? If you want to condemn someone you can always find a pretext. The heavenly palace is tyrannical. Sooner or later it will be destroyed. A sorrowful and indignant voice came from one of the buildings on the peak. An old man appeared. This old man looked very old. His hair was almost falling out and his face was full of wrinkles. Grief and indignation appeared on his face. He roared and soared into the sky, his body emitting a resplendent golden light. Those who defy the heavenly palace will be killed without mercy. A cold voice came from the clouds. Then Lu Ming saw the figure that looked like a giant crocodile brandishing a battle axe and slashing down violently. A shocking axe light slashed towards the old man. Boom! The old man and the axe collided, causing a dazzling golden light to erupt. Then the golden light collapsed and the old man's body fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Today the Tianyu divine country shall be destroyed. A cold and aloof voice spread throughout the world. Even if I die, I will drag you all down with me. The old man let out a long howl. His entire body was bathed in blood as he once again soared into the sky. However, this time, a stone pagoda appeared in his hand. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. This stone pagoda was exactly the same as the stone pagoda that they had seen previously. Boom! The old man rushed into the clouds with the stone tower in his hand. At this moment the scene around him changed again. Everything disappeared and he returned to his previous state. Jiang Libang and the others were still around him. "Brother Jiang, did you see something strange just now?" asked Lu Ming. "No." Jiang Libang shook his head and curiously asked, "Could it be that Brother Lu noticed something strange?" Lu Ming looked at the others and didn't see anything strange. It was as if he was the only one who had seen that scene. "When I was staring at his blood, I suddenly noticed that the environment had changed." Immediately, Lu Ming recounted the situation that he had seen earlier. There was nothing to hide, so Lu Ming's voice was very loud. Many people heard it. Many people were shocked when they heard it. Could it be that what you saw was a projection of the battle back then? Is this really related to the heavenly palace? Could it be that it was the Heaven Sentinel? Many people's expressions were grave. Heaven Sentinel? Lu Ming was curious. He knew that the heavenly palace had the Heaven Sentinel sword that could suppress the heavens. It was a treasure of the heavenly palace and possessed terrifying power. Back then, the Yale Lord of Heaven had used the Heaven Sentinel sword to break through the defense of the 10,000 dragon seals. But this was the first time Lu Ming had heard of the Heaven Sentinel. However, Jiang Libang and the others seemed to be afraid and didn't say anything. The so-called Heaven Sentinel is just the heavenly palace's executioners. Bone Devil's voice sounded in his knowledge sea. On the surface, the heavenly palace has heavenly soldiers in charge of suppressing the various races of the universe and maintaining the prestige of the heavenly palace. But in the dark, they have cultivated a group of Heaven Sentinels. The so-called Heaven Sentinel is just a group of executioners who are secretly responsible for getting rid of those forces or individuals who have disloyalty to the heavenly palace. Since ancient times, who knows how many forces or individuals have been secretly killed by the Heaven Sentinel. Clearly, this Skypass divine nation was also the same and was destroyed by the Heaven Sentinel. Bone Devil sneered. So that's how it is. Lu Ming finally understood what he had seen. That huge crocodile and that octopus-like creature were the Heaven Sentinels. And for some unknown reason, the heavenly palace thought that the Skypass divine nation was disloyal and sent out Heaven Sentinels to destroy it overnight, causing it to disappear from the universe. It seems that the bottom of this stone tower is really extraordinary. Could there be a Heaven Sentinel suppressed under it? The blood on the stone tower, could it be the Heaven Sentinel's blood? Let's not touch this stone tower. Everyone felt a lingering fear and finally decided not to touch this stone tower. Everyone circled around the stone tower and flew towards the peak. Lu Ming did the same. His speed was very fast and he arrived at the peak in the blink of an eye and entered a huge palace. Lu Ming saw from the previous scene that this palace was the palace where the old man lived. There were only a few broken statues in the palace. Lu Ming directly walked past them and entered the palace. In the depths of the palace there was a room with some shelves. On the shelves there were some jade talismans. Lu Ming picked up a jade talisman and saw that it was a secret technique. These jade talismans, could they all be secret techniques? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. There were at least 100 jade talismans here. Lu Ming waved his hand and collected them all. Other than the jade talismans, Lu Ming also found a bracelet. The bracelet was made of stone beads and there were a total of 12 of them. It felt warm to the touch like jade, but it was incomparably heavy. Lu Ming grabbed it and felt like he was grabbing 12 mountains. Treasure. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This was clearly extraordinary. Swish. At this time a dozen figures charged in. They were experts from another of the 4 superpowers called the Qinli sect. The Qinli sect's experts immediately revealed greedy expressions when they saw the bracelet in Lu Ming's hand. Brat, hand over the bracelet in your hand. Also, hand over everything you obtained just now. A middle-aged man with a sword on his back stared at Lu Ming with a fiery gaze. Chapter 37:19. The burly middle-aged man with a combat sword on his back and a dozen other people were glaring at Lu Ming. Not only did they want Lu Ming's bracelet, but they also wanted Lu Ming's interspatial ring. There were quite a few shelves here, so they didn't believe there was only one bracelet. The 4 factions all came here first. First come, first served. I came here first, so the things here are naturally mine. Lu Ming said. First come, first served, haha. Don't you know the principle of first come first? The middle-aged man with a sword on his back sneered. Of course I know that. Since that's the case, this treasure should belong to me. Lu Ming smiled and put the bracelet into his interspatial ring. Brat, you're courting death. The eyes of the middle-aged man with a sword on his back flashed with cold killing intent. In his view, Lu Ming was playing with him. Lu Ming meant that Lu Ming had become stronger. He was a quasi-emperor while Lu Ming was a mere 4th-level divine lord. He was stronger than him. If this wasn't playing with him, then what was? Brat, I gave you a chance but you didn't want it. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The middle-aged burly man with a combat sword on his back shouted coldly. He used his fingers as a sword and pierced toward Lu Ming. A sharp ray of sword chi stabbed at Lu Ming. A casual attack from a quasi-emperor sword cultivator was extremely powerful. The other people from the Qinli sect relaxed. In their view, Lu Ming was dead for sure. If a quasi-emperor wanted to kill a 4th-level divine monarch, there would only be one outcome for this person, and that was death. There would not be a second outcome. In an instant, the sword chi arrived in front of Lu Ming. The middle-aged burly man with a combat sword on his back revealed a sinister smile. It was as if he could see Lu Ming revealing a regretful expression and then being killed. Unfortunately, he didn't see any regret or panic on Lu Ming's face. Lu Ming's expression hadn't changed at all. Tranquil and indifferent. Just as the sword chi was about to hit Lu Ming's forehead, Lu Ming stretched out 2 fingers and pinched the sword chi. A poof. The sword chi was like a useless wisp of air, directly dispersing without causing any harm to Lu Ming. The other members of the Qinli sect opened their mouths in shock. Obviously, this scene was completely different from what they had imagined. This brat can block senior apprentice brother Lu's attack? How is that possible? I guess he was just lucky. Also, senior brother Lu didn't use much strength in that casual attack. Definitely. These people nodded repeatedly as if they had found a reason to convince themselves. For them to believe that a 4th-level divine lord could block a quasi-emperor's attack, it was impossible. They didn't want to believe it. Otherwise, wouldn't it mean that they were useless? However, the middle-aged man with the battle sword on his back was not so relaxed. His face turned serious. Only he knew that he had used 30% of his strength just now. 30% of a quasi-emperor's strength. Let alone a 4th-level divine lord, even an 8th-level divine lord would be dead. Even a 9th-level divine lord had to be treated with caution. But Lu Ming had casually blocked it. This was not normal. Brat, you have some strength, but your fate today is already decided. The middle-aged man with a sword on his back said coldly as he drew his sword from his back. Lu Ming blocking his attack didn't make him retreat. Instead, it stimulated his killing intent. If he retreated today, how could he raise his head in front of his junior apprentice brothers? The battle sword vibrated, and a terrifying aura erupted. Kill? The middle-aged burly man shouted. Holding the sword with both hands, he dashed out and slashed toward Lu Ming. Sword chi whistled, enveloping Lu Ming's body. If you don't seek death, you won't die. Lu Ming shook his head. He had already shown mercy, wanting the other party to retreat. But since the other party wanted to die, he could only fulfill his wish. Boom. Lu Ming directly punched out. The void shook violently and the space exploded directly. The horrifying fist force was like a tsunami, and it crushed toward the middle-aged man. Bang. The other party's sword energy directly scattered. The fist landed on the middle-aged man's sword, causing it to shatter like glass. The fist didn't stop and continued to land on the middle-aged man's body. No. The middle-aged burly man let out a horrified and regretful scream. Then his body turned into ashes under the force of Lu Ming's fist. The remaining people of the Qianli sect were completely stunned. A fourth-level divine lord killed a quasi-emperor with a single punch. What was going on? Were they seeing things or were they dreaming? If it was real, how was it possible? A divine lord? This is a divine lord. He's deliberately pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger to trick us. They couldn't help but have a thought in their minds. Run, run. One of them roared and frantically retreated. The remaining people also reacted and wanted to flee. However, Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. Since he had already attacked, Lu Ming wouldn't let these people off. According to his experience, he had already killed the middle-aged man and offended the Qianli sect. If he let these people leave, the Qianli sect wouldn't let this matter rest. Instead, they would take revenge by sending even stronger experts. Lu Ming had experienced this kind of thing too many times. In order to reduce one potential enemy, these people had to be eliminated. These people weren't good people. If Lu Ming wasn't strong enough, they wouldn't hesitate to kill him. Kill. Lu Ming's cold voice sounded and he launched an attack. With Lu Ming's current strength, these people wouldn't even be able to escape. In less than a minute, the Qianli sect's experts had all died. Lu Ming silently left. Boom. Just at this moment, a terrifying explosion rang out. Heaven and earth trembled. Brr. Then a tyrannical roar rang out. It was like a demon that had been suppressed for countless years was about to come out. What's going on? Lu Ming was startled. He soared into the sky and looked into the distance. The others did the same. They all flew into the sky and looked in the direction of the roar. It's that stone tower. Damn it, someone touched that stone tower. Someone roared. As expected, there were many more people at the stone tower. There were at least 1,000 of them. The Sky Locust race, the Frost Moon Vine race. Lu Ming's gaze moved. Among these people, he immediately saw the figures of the Sky Locust race and the Frost Moon Vine race. The Locust Fong he had met at the trade fair was always there. Chapter 37:20. The stone pagoda was moved away by a burly man from the Heavenly Locust tribe. Under the original stone tower, a dazzling light was emitted. ZZ bolts of lightning shot out from the bottom of the stone tower. Roar! Another terrifying roar came out, shaking the heaven and earth violently. Not good. There's an expert suppressed under the stone tower. Quickly release him. Hurry. At this moment, people from the Heavenly Locust tribe, the Frost Moon Vine tribe and a few other forces shouted in shock. The burly man from the Heavenly Locust tribe wanted to put the stone pagoda back, but it was too late. Thunderous roars filled the sky. From the place where the stone pagoda had been suppressing, a few tentacles stretched out. They looked like tentacles of an octopus. Each tentacle was extremely huge, reaching over 100 meters long and covered in lightning. The tentacles swept across and huge thunderbolts burst out. Many people were enveloped by the lightning. They didn't even have time to scream before their bodies were reduced to ashes. In the blink of an eye, dozens of people were killed. Regardless of whether it was 8th level Divine Lord, 9th level Divine Lord, or Divine Sovereign, it was all the same. Instant kill, retreat, quickly retreat. Huang Fong and Yu Chang retreated hastily under the protection of numerous experts. The burly man from the Heavenly Acrypoid race who had moved the stone pagoda hurriedly threw it down and retreated. Disloyal people kill. A cold and tyrannical roar was heard. Then a gigantic octopus appeared. The octopus floated in the air and waved its 8 tentacles. Lightning filled the sky as it charged toward the crowd. Some of the lightning bolts even charged towards Lu Ming and the others. Damn it! Why are the Heavenly Locust race and the Frozen Moon Vine race here? On Lu Ming's side, some people roared and fled in all directions. If we can find the entrance to Tianyu God Country, others can naturally find it as well. Let's go. Everyone fled in all directions to avoid the lightning attacks. However, one of them was struck by lightning and turned into ashes. Flesh, I need flesh. The octopus seemed to have woken up from a dream. It finally understood the situation. Greed and desire shone in its eyes as it charged toward the heavenly locust tribe and the icy moonvine tribe. His speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he caught up with them. Bastard, you're courting death. An angry roar came from the heavenly Acrypoid tribe. Then, an elder from the heavenly Acrypoid tribe shot up into the sky and runes appeared all over his body. As the runes scattered, a terrifying aura burst out from them. God King, this is definitely the aura of a God King. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. A divine emperor from the heavenly Acrypoid race had come in, but he had concealed his chi with a talisman. These divine emperors seemed to be afraid of something, which was why they had sealed their cultivation with a sealing technique. If the heavenly Acrypoid race was like this, the other forces would probably do the same. Swish, the god emperor of the heavenly Acrypoid race transformed into his true form, a giant locust, and rushed toward the octopus. The sharp claws of the heavenly Acrypoid tribe were like divine blades as they slashed at the octopus, colliding with the thunderbolts of the octopus. There was a huge explosion in the area that destroyed the heavens and the earth. After a few moves, the heavenly Acrypoid race expert retreated. However, he was blocked by the heavenly Acrypoid race expert. Everyone, if we don't act now, when are we going to? This octopus has been suppressed for many years, it doesn't have much strength left. Let's kill it together, otherwise we'll all be killed. The heavenly Acrypoid race's divine emperor roared. Kill? The octopus roared, its 8 tentacles were incomparably huge, extending and sweeping in all directions. The suckers on the octopus's tentacles released a terrifying suction force. Many people screamed in fear as they were sucked into the suckers. Then they disappeared into the suckers, not even their bones were left behind. Attack! Let's kill this octopus together. A few angry roars sounded. A figure rushed out from the direction of the icy moonvine race. This person's body was covered with many talismans, which were also sealing talismans, sealing his own chi. Boom! The sealing talismans dispersed and a divine emperor's chi burst out. At the same time, several other forces such as the Qianli sect and Jiang Libang's forces also had divine emperors break out of their seals, releasing their chi. A total of 7 divine emperors rushed toward the octopus. Boom! Boom! Dazzling divine light burst out, and powerful waves of chi swept across half the sky, creating a terrifying explosion. A battle between divine emperors was incomparably terrifying. Others didn't dare to get close, so they all retreated far away. Lu Ming was extremely fast. In a few flashes, he had distanced himself from the octopus. These are divine emperors? I'm not their match. Lu Ming's expression was grave. Although he could easily kill quasi-emperors, the difference between quasi-emperors and divine emperors was too great. No matter how strong he was, he still wasn't a match for divine emperors, even if they were the lowest level of divine emperors. Only divine emperors could participate in this battle. Those below divine emperors had all retreated far away. Lu Ming also quickly flew away, leaving this place. In any case, he had pretty much explored this place. Lu Ming had obtained some secret techniques as well as a bracelet whose effects he didn't know. It had been worth it. A moment later, Lu Ming was already far away from that place. Lu Ming could no longer feel the fluctuations of the battle there. Lu Ming continued flying forward. Soon he arrived at a primitive forest. The forest was extremely dense. Ancient trees stretched as far as the sky. Lu Ming stood in the air, watching from a distance. He saw the shadow of a huge building in the forest. If there was a building, then there might be an opportunity. Lu Ming carefully flew into the forest. He didn't see anything strange along the way. There were only flourishing plants in this forest. There were no animals. Lu Ming quickly arrived at the center of the forest. There really were a large number of buildings here, but they had all collapsed. Many of them were completely deformed. They had clearly experienced an intense battle and exploded. Suddenly Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He saw an incomparably huge skeleton. Its flesh had already rotted, leaving behind only a skeleton. Its bones were sparkling and translucent, more exquisite than the most exquisite jade. He couldn't see what kind of race it was. It looked like a tiger, but it also looked like a lion. But there was a single horn on its head that pointed straight to the sky. It was incomparably sharp, even sharper than a divine sword. But what attracted Lu Ming's attention was each of its joints. In every joint of this skeleton, there were round pearls as white as jade. Bone Bead. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This was a special race. Under special conditions, the corpse would condense bone beads after it died. It gathered a large amount of the life essence of this creature when it was alive. It was a top-grade treasure in the universe. He didn't expect that this creature would actually form bone beads. Even from a distance, Lu Ming could feel the vast life energy in the bone beads. Although Lu Ming had a lot of divine herbs on him, which would be enough for a short period of time, it was naturally better to have more of such treasures. As Lu Ming's cultivation improved, his energy consumption would become more and more astonishing. The divine herbs on hand were simply not enough. Chapter 37:21. Lu Ming didn't immediately collect the bone bead. Instead, he sent out his spiritual sense to investigate the surrounding area. Spiritual sense came from the soul. Now that Lu Ming's soul was spread to every cell in his body, his spiritual sense was also coming from every cell in his body. It was very calm. There was nothing strange and there were no living creatures. Lu Ming didn't sense any danger. Lu Ming was relieved. With a flash of his body, he headed toward the skeleton. When Lu Ming approached the skeleton, he suddenly felt a sense of danger. Every cell in his body trembled slightly. There's danger. Retreat. Lu Ming's figure retreated rapidly. At this moment, the shadow cast by the skeleton suddenly moved. A shadow stretched out like a javelin, stabbing toward Lu Ming at a shocking speed. Block. Lu Ming sent out a punch. But that shadow was not only fast but it was also unpredictable. When it approached Lu Ming's fist, it twisted and went around Lu Ming's fist, stabbing toward Lu Ming's chest. Not good. Lu Ming cried out inwardly. In an instant his body released a dazzling light. This was a defensive secret art he had fused into his cells. Over 50 kinds of defensive secret arts erupted at once. However, these defensive secret arts were unable to block the shadow's attack. They were directly pierced through. With a sound, a bloody hole appeared in Lu Ming's chest. Lu Ming's body flew backward, crashing into and breaking a few trees with a diameter of more than 10 meters. What a powerful attack. It even included a spiritual attack. Lu Ming felt a burning pain in his chest. His expression was grave. His secret art didn't have much of an effect on that shadow's attack. The reason was because it contained a powerful spiritual attack. It had directly pierced through his secret art's defenses. His chest had been completely pierced through. There was a bloody hole in his chest and so was his heart. However, although Lu Ming's body was similar to an ordinary person's, he no longer had any vital points. There was no difference between the major organs, the brain, and the ordinary muscles of the hands and feet. The potential in his cells erupted, and his wounds healed rapidly. As for the soul attack, his soul had already been dispersed to every cell in his body. The places that had been attacked just now had indeed suffered heavy damage. However, his soul had been split into 60 trillion parts, so these attacks were harmless. The soul power in the other cells was constantly replenished to the places that were attacked, and the souls in the places that were attacked were rapidly recovering. In an instant, Lu Ming's wound healed. What kind of attack or creature is this? Lu Ming's gaze was fixed on the shadow under the white bones. Previously, Lu Ming thought that this was the shadow cast by White Bone, but now it seemed that it was not that simple. Or rather, there was some strange creature hiding under the shadow of the white bones. Lu Ming looked at it carefully and was still unwilling to leave. The life energy of that kind of bone pearl was too abundant. Its value was definitely above emperor-grade divine medicine. It was extremely rare and hard to come by. I need to get it as quickly as possible. Lu Ming revealed a resolute look. Then his body shook and he dashed out, pouncing on Baigu. The instant he charged, all the speed secret arts he had fused with his cells erupted. This caused Lu Ming's speed to explode. He was like a bolt of lightning as he charged at White Bone. However, just as Lu Ming approached White Bone, the shadow below began to rapidly wriggle. Then 5 or 6 black shadows shot at Lu Ming. Each one of them was like a javelin, but their speed was shocking. Dodge. Lu Ming's heart shook, and he quickly changed his position to dodge the javelin attacks. However, the shadow suddenly began to rapidly expand. It spread along the ground and rapidly grew, enveloping everything within 100 miles. Then countless javelins appeared from all directions and stabbed at Lu Ming. Not good. Lu Ming's expression changed. He knew that he had underestimated his opponent. He had underestimated this shadow. This shadow's power was beyond his imagination. From all directions, there were at least hundreds of shadow javelins stabbing towards him, densely covering every direction. Even if Lu Ming wanted to dodge, he couldn't. He could only break. Break! Lu Ming roared. His body began to emit a resplendent light, making him look like a sun. His fists constantly punched out, and one fist energy after another exploded in a certain direction. At the same time he also used many offensive secret arts. Divine Dragon Aspect Art, 9 dragons roar the ice chain, 9 chains like long snakes dancing in the air. 9 Chi Sword Art unhindered all kinds of attacks attacked those shadow javelins together. This space exploded, releasing intense rumbling sounds. Under this incomparably powerful power, the shadow javelin's spiritual attacks were somewhat affected. Some of them were distorted and some of them were slowed down. But it was still difficult to block them all. These shadow attacks were still stubbornly advancing. Blood splattered everywhere. More than 10 wounds appeared on Lu Ming's body instantly. It was hideous and terrifying. Lu Ming circulated all his strength to recover. Then he took a step and soared into the sky. But it was already too late. At this moment, that shadow was like a sphere, completely enveloping everything within 100 miles. Whoosh! Shadow javelins appeared above his head, stabbing at Lu Ming. Lu Ming resisted with all his strength, but he was still hit, and a few more wounds appeared on his body. I can't continue like this. I have to charge out. Otherwise, even if I have a taboo body, I'll be exhausted to death by this monster. Lu Ming's thoughts rapidly turned. Although his recovery speed was extremely fast, he could still recover no matter how heavy his injuries were. But he needed time and he needed energy. Although he had stored up a large amount of energy before, and he felt that he had around 50% of it left, his energy consumption was extremely shocking. At this moment he felt that his energy was rapidly being consumed. So he couldn't be trapped here. He had to charge out. Charge. Lu Ming clenched his teeth. Staring in one direction he quickly charged out. At the same time his fists were constantly punching out. All kinds of secret arts were constantly unleashed. But his body didn't stop. The result of this was that he was constantly being hit. More and more wounds appeared on his body. His entire body was dyed red with blood. But he didn't care. He continued charging. He wasn't an ordinary person. If an ordinary person suffered such a heavy injury, their combat power would be greatly reduced, and they would be in danger. But he wouldn't. As long as he could charge out, no matter how heavy his injuries were, they could be healed. Finally, Lu Ming reached the edge of the shadow barrier. In front of him, he was blocked by a black shadow barrier. Boom. Lu Ming continuously punched out. Several of his fists landed on the shadow barrier, but it didn't budge. Chapter 37:22. His berserk attack landed on the shadow light curtain. The shadow light curtain didn't budge. It had no effect. Lu Ming paled. His attack was actually unable to break through the shadow light curtain. At this time, the shadow light curtain counterattacked. Javelins appeared on the light curtain and shot towards Lu Ming. Many wounds immediately appeared on Lu Ming's body, penetrating from front to back. Lu Ming coughed up blood, but his gaze was still resolute. He hadn't lost hope. Taboo energy. Lu Ming shouted. His cells began to tremble. Strands of taboo energy began to spread. This time, the taboo energy didn't hide within his body. Instead it appeared. A layer of transparent energy covered Lu Ming's fist. Boom. Lu Ming once more punched the shadow light curtain. A shocking scene appeared. Lu Ming's fist directly pierced through the shadow light curtain. A miserable scream came from the shadow light curtain, and then it began to rapidly squirm. Boom. Lu Ming threw out a few more punches and screams could be heard again. The shadow screen wriggled even more violently before shrinking rapidly. Naturally, the encirclement around Lu Ming was broken. I really didn't expect the taboo energy to be able to restrain this shadow. I have to go. Lu Ming didn't dare to stop in the slightest. He crazily charged forward. In the blink of an eye, he was 100 miles away. But when he turned back, his pupils shrank. That shadow shrunk and actually turned into a pitch-black creature. This life form looked like a tiger, but it wasn't. It had a single horn on its head, and it was extremely similar to the skeleton's body. Could it be that this shadow evolved from the skeleton's body after it died? A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind and he continued to dash forward. That one-horned shadow beast only icily looked at Lu Ming. It didn't chase after him. After a while, its body began to fade, and it merged back into the skeleton's shadow. Lu Ming continued to run. As he ran, his injuries healed at an extremely fast rate. In just a few minutes, the wounds on his body had disappeared. The internal wounds were also recovering quickly. My strength has increased again. I'm not far from 5th level Divine Lord. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He discovered that along with the recovery of his injuries, his cultivation was also rising rapidly. He was already close to peak 4th level Divine Lord. This was because he had gone through an intense battle. After being injured, his cells had repaired themselves and released the potential within. The more I get beaten up, the stronger I become. Then wouldn't I become a masochist in the future? Lu Ming was speechless. The cultivation method of this taboo power was really strange. Of course, if he just stood there and let the other party attack him, it wouldn't be of much use. Only in a truly intense battle, a battle of life and death, could one's potential be truly stimulated. When Lu Ming rushed out of the forest, his injuries were basically healed. It's that brat. Stop him. At this moment a shout rang out. In front, a group of people were chasing after Lu Ming. The one leading them was actually Huang Fong. These people were from the heavenly acrypoid race. There were at least 20 experts rushing towards Lu Ming. They were all quasi-emperors. How unlucky. Lu Ming was speechless. He had just rushed out of the forest when he encountered the heavenly acrypoid race. Huang Fong's face was gloomy as he stared at Lu Ming with murderous intent. Huang Fong, I spared your life back then. If you don't know when to stop, you'll have to bear the consequences. Lu Ming said coldly. You'll have to bear the consequences. How dare you threaten me? Who do you think you are? You're just a bug. Crush him. Huang Fong roared, his face contorted. Lu Ming actually dared to mention that matter in front of him. This was simply poking at his sore spot, making him go crazy. Kill. The 20 quasi-emperors transformed into their locusts. Their claws were like blades as they attacked Lu Ming. You're courting death. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. His killing intent was like a blade. He had gone around Huang Fong previously to avoid offending the heavenly acrypoid race and being harassed by them. Originally, he had thought that with the vastness of the primitive universe, he would not cross paths with Huang Fong again. He also thought that the heavenly acrypoid race would not go after him just because he had beaten up Huang Fong. But he did not expect to meet Huang Fong in the ruins of the heavenly eclipsed divine kingdom. Moreover, Huang Fong looked like he wanted to kill him. Lu Ming decided not to hold back anymore. Swish, swish, swish. Lu Ming's palm was like a blade. He activated the offensive secret technique in his palm, causing Lu Ming's palm to become incomparably sharp. With a slash of his palm, the void split open. 2 quasi-emperors of the heavenly acrypoid race were killed before they could even scream. Now, Lu Ming had integrated even more secret techniques into his body. His cultivation had also reached the peak of the 4th layer Divine Lord realm. His battle strength had increased. Killing quasi-emperors was like killing chickens for him. After killing the 2 quasi-emperors of the heavenly acrypoid race, Lu Ming turned around and swept his palm. A blinding blade light shot out from his palm. 3 quasi-emperors of the heavenly acrypoid race were cut in half at the waist. Destructive energy exploded from their bodies, destroying their souls. 5 quasi-emperors were killed in the first exchange. They could not even withstand a single blow. The other quasi-emperors felt a chill run down their spines. Their faces were pale and they did not dare to attack. They quickly retreated. However, since Lu Ming had already killed the experts of the heavenly acrypoid race, he would not hold back. It was best to kill all of them. Kill? Lu Ming roared and chased after the quasi-emperors of the heavenly acrypoid race. Bastard, how dare you! With a furious roar, a terrifying aura pressed down on Lu Ming. Boom. Lu Ming felt as if he had been hit by a planet. His body shook violently and he could not help but retreat. Divine Emperors. Lu Ming's expression was extremely grave. An elder stepped out from beside Huang Fongli. A terrifying aura spread out from his body. It was as deep as the sea, unfathomable. Kill this bastard. Huang Fongli shouted. Boom. The elder's aura became even more terrifying. He took a step forward and charged at Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. I miscalculated. Lu Ming frowned. Previously, the heavenly acrypoid race's divine emperor had fought against the octopus. Lu Ming had seen it before. It was not this person. Therefore, Lu Ming had been careless and did not retreat immediately. Clearly, there was more than one divine emperor from the heavenly acrypoid race. Retreat. Without hesitation, Lu Ming retreated and dashed into the forest. You want to escape from my hands? Young man, you must be dreaming. The elder sneered and stepped forward. He stretched out a withered hand and grabbed downwards. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook violently. 9 saber lights appeared in the sky and slashed down on Lu Ming. Open. Lu Ming bellowed and unleashed all his power. The battle word incantation increased his combat power by 5 times to the maximum. Chapter 37:23. Lu Ming exerted all his strength. He activated the battle incantation, increasing his combat power by 5 times. He made dozens of moves consecutively. Dang dang dang, Lu Ming's attack hit the saber gleam in front of him. It was as if he had hit a metal saber and there was a loud explosion. Crack. Then cracks appeared on the saber gleam. The cracks were densely packed. With Lu Ming's final blow, the saber gleam crumbled into pieces. Lu Ming's figure shot forward. This brat. The Divine Emperor's pupils shrank, revealing a look of disbelief. He never thought that a mere 4th-level Divine Lord could actually break one of his blade lights. This made killing intent flash explosively in his eyes. He was a dignified Divine Emperor, but his saber light had been broken by a 4th-level Divine Lord. What face did he have left? Die. The Elder of the Divine Emperor realm shouted coldly. He was getting serious. He pressed his palms and the remaining 8 saber gleams shone brightly. Their power increased tremendously as they slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. In an instant he had already covered a distance of thousands of miles. However, the Elder of the Divine Emperor realm was even faster. His saber radiance covered tens of thousands of miles and shrouded Lu Ming in it. There was no way to escape. Break! Lu Ming roared, attacking with all his strength. He wanted to break the saber light that was slashing down on him. Boom! Intense rumbling sounds erupted, and powerful energy overflowed in all directions. The forest was torn apart, and ancient trees continuously exploded. In the end, Lu Ming managed to block the saber light. But this time, the saber light was even stronger than before. Although Lu Ming managed to block it, he was injured. Bloody scars appeared on his body. They were all caused by the saber light's energy. Blood flowed freely. The bones in his hand were cracked and his bones were clearly visible. However, Lu Ming had only blocked 1 saber light. There were still 7 more above him. Divine Emperors are truly powerful. Lu Ming's expression was grave. He definitely couldn't face them head-on. He was still far from being able to do so. Lu Ming activated all of his agility and speed secret techniques, raising his speed to the extreme. Swish, swish. His figure flashed rapidly. It was as if there were figures all over the mountain. In the end, a few saber lights missed their target and slashed into the ground. A few 100,000 miles long cracks appeared on the ground and went deep into the ground. However, there were still a few saber lights that were not blocked. No matter how Lu Ming dodged, it seemed to lock onto him. In the end, Lu Ming was hit. His body flew out like a cannonball, breaking a large number of trees. Pain, burning pain. Lu Ming's body was almost split in half. It could be said that he had been split into 2 halves, no, 3 halves. This was because his body had been completely split apart after being hit by the 2 blade auras. Only a small amount of muscle was left to hold his body together. All of the cells in his body were constantly surging with energy. Lu Ming's body quickly recovered. Those muscles were wriggling crazily like small snakes, connecting his body back together. In just a few breaths, Lu Ming's body had been reconnected. He ran madly towards the depths of the forest. He was no match for a Divine Emperor. It would be difficult for him to even escape. If he wanted to escape, he would need external help. Lu Ming thought of that skeleton, that shadow of a creature. What kind of monster is this? The people of the heavenly Acrypoid race saw this scene and their hearts beat violently. Lu Ming had been hit by a Divine Emperor consecutively. His body had been split apart. If it had been someone else, they would have been dead. However, Lu Ming was actually fine. His recovery ability was simply terrifying. It was ridiculously strong. In just a few breaths, he had recovered a lot from his serious injuries. Even the Divine Emperor realm old man's heart beat violently. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Chase. The Elder of the Divine Emperor realm shouted coldly. He stepped out and chased after Lu Ming madly. Let's chase him together, don't let him escape. Huang Feng roared and led the experts of the heavenly Acrypoid race to chase after Lu Ming. Lu Ming burst out with his maximum speed, rushing towards the skeleton with all his strength. While rushing, he also had to dodge the Divine Emperor realm old man's attacks. On the way, Lu Ming was hit several times and was heavily injured. Fortunately, Lu Ming had a taboo body, so he managed to survive. I'm here. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He finally saw the skeleton. He did not hesitate to rush towards the skeleton. That's a bone pearl. The Divine Emperor realm old man's eyes lit up. He did not hesitate to rush towards the skeleton. At the same time, he waved his hand and released a few terrifying blade lights towards Lu Ming. At this moment, the shadow under the skeleton wriggled violently and a dozen shadow javelins shot out. Most of them were aimed at the Divine Emperor realm old man. Only a few of them were aimed at Lu Ming. This was because the Elder at the Divine Emperor realm was much more threatening than Lu Ming. Boom boom boom, the shadow javelins hit the blade lights and broke through them. They continued towards the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man. The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man's expression changed. He waved his hand madly and a terrifying attack broke out, blocking the shadow javelins. On the other hand, Lu Ming covered his fist with taboo strength and blocked the shadow javelins. Brr. The shadow under the skeleton roared furiously. Then, the shadow wriggled violently and covered a radius of 100 li. Whoosh 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 whoosh, there were at least a few hundred shadow javelins in all directions, stabbing towards Lu Ming and the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man. Of course, most of them were aimed at the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man. The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man roared furiously and tried his best to resist. The shadow javelins contained a soul attack. Even he had to be careful. As for Lu Ming, he charged forward with all his might. He opened up a path with the taboo force and rushed to the front of the shadow light curtain. He broke the shadow light curtain with one punch. With a flash, he dashed out of the light curtain and ran away. Damn it! The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man roared furiously and tried his best to resist the shadow javelins. He rushed towards the direction where Lu Ming had escaped. However, when he reached the place where Lu Ming had been, the shadow light curtain had already healed. Boom! The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man slashed the shadow light curtain with his blade. The shadow light curtain shook violently, but it did not break immediately. Break! Break! The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man roared. His divine strength soared to the sky and a vast blade light pierced through the sky. In the end, under the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man's torrential attacks, the shadow light curtain shrunk and turned into a black creature with a horn on its head. At first glance, one could tell that this creature was not real. Its body was slightly distorted. The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man looked around but did not see Lu Ming's figure. Damn it! The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man roared furiously, his face pale. Although he had managed to break through the shadow barrier, he had also suffered some injuries. His soul had been injured. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.